welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, and getting better. Oh my gosh, I'm Ben Hansen. I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hello.
Janet Garcia.
Hello.
And Sarah Podzorski.
Hello.
That's it. That's the standard for this podcast. Nay, I say, we're venturing into the great beyond. We also have Jeff Marchiafava.
Hello.
And Leo Vader.
Wow, the big finale. Thank you.
We're all assembled today for a very special episode of the podcast where we just wanted to... Here's the thing, everybody. Every week, we get hundreds of great questions and comments submitted over on Patreon for us to read off. And it's brutal. We're killing our darlings every week. We're trimming, we're chopping, we're like taking our offspring and just hacking legs off just to try and squeeze it into the podcast. We said, what about this episode? We make room for not quite everybody, because we had to kill a couple of our darlings along the way, but more of our darlings to get on the, what's that thing called? Lifeboat? To get on the lifeboat and sail free. The point is, everybody, we have a lot of community questions, and that's what this episode
You're going to fix this
about.
in post, right? Like, you're going to make this better in the edit, right?
So what would a normal person say here? And just be like, we have a question.
Yeah, we're going to be answering community questions for the entire episode, everybody. So we figured it'd be more fun if we had absolutely everybody on this episode. So, hey, your job, everybody, is to look alive and jump in at all these opportunities, because there's going to be hot questions flying all over the place. Hey, we don't got to talk about anything except for what the community wants us to talk about. And Brandon Milligan submits a question over on Patreon, and here's what they want us to talk about. Killer question, Brandon. They say, what open world game, in your opinion, is the most fun per second? For more context, well, actually, let's just leave context if we're confused. But I love that. Just most fun per second. Because look, something like Elden Ring, delightful. Fun per second? I don't even Breath of the Wild, wonderful. Fun per second? I don't know. What jumps out for folks?
I mean, I haven't really played a lot, but I think Leo has, so maybe he can say, no, I think you're wrong. But Just Cause seems like one that fits that bill, right? Because like you have the zip line and stuff. But I think like personally, because I like moving, just core moving so much, I think Spider-Man.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think that's right. Yeah, that's what Brandon suggested. He's like, for more context, maybe it's Marvel Spider-Man swinging through the city in between all the all-out brawls. I do think so. When I think about, like, if I wanted to show somebody a cool open world game that isn't into video games, it's like, yeah, Spider-Man, I think would be the first one I'd boot up just for that easy swinging around. I think it's the one to go for.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be about the movement. But
Yeah.
Spider-Man, I don't know. You get into the back half and you're still doing the same side missions and stuff. You get that kind of downside.
Yeah, landing on the cars, saving them over and over again.
Wouldn't say I was having fun doing that at that point.
Yeah, but if I hooked up your brain to like a cool scanner while you're playing Spider-Man, I do think second to second, you're still probably doing... Yeah, you're crunching more numbers, The meters are going off the
doctors need to be
charts.
focusing on. It's like, forget curing all these diseases. Let's figure out what game is the most fun.
Right, and I think it's this.
Well, I don't know. It's not like quite... I mean, it's open world, but it's not like open world in the most modern of senses. But I really loved my time with Sunset Overdrive, even though I never finished it. It's like pseudo, because, it's not like endless, but it's like you're in that town.
Yeah.
But that's similar to, Spider-Man. That movement moment to moment is really good. It's got a lot of like goofy era, like it has a certain energy to it, not just because it's fueled by like those energy drinks that went bad, but it's got a goofiness to it and a humor and a lightness, and I think it's not too long of a game either, so that could be pretty up there for fun per second, I think.
It's a great answer, and it's great for this category because going back to that game recently, it just gives you new abilities at seemingly random. You're just out in the open world doing nothing, and it'll say air dash unlocked, and I will have no clue what I did to deserve that.
What? Is it all just hidden meters and stuff like that?
What's that?
Is it all just hidden meters and stuff? Like you're just secretly doing enough of activity?
I guess amounts of kills or amounts of times grinded or something.
That's good. Yeah, just for trickling in.
I think too, it has like really funky and amusing storylines, like even just like booting it up like the other day or like a few months ago and like doing this storyline of this like kid who's trying to like this rich kid trying to find his parents, and then like when he gets there, spoilers, like it's like, oh, they just ditched him like and flew off in a helicopter, and it's like obviously that's horrible, but like because of like the way it's written, it's seen as like this goofy odd thing because this guy's a jerk, and like everyone you help is like horrible, and like one person's like, I'm not gonna help you unless you get me this nice bottled water from this factory because I'm like a prep school kid that also knows how to build this bomb, but like you need to go on these ridiculous errands for people. I think that combined with the traversal is like pretty amusing. There's like a lot of little collectibles floating around everywhere.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that wins.
I think so. Yep.
What about Riders Republic or one of the open world Tony Hawk's, Leo?
Yeah, Procyon number 6 in the Backstage Pass chat brought that up, and yeah, that is certainly the correct answer. I think that's exactly what I touted
an argument for me. I'm giving you games to argue for. I don't have arguments for these.
Yeah, no, I feel like I answered this question at length in our 210s discussion last year. As far as every moment you're playing it is actively fun, and it's got a new season that I'm going to check out tonight.
Heck yeah! Kyle, if I may lob one at you, what about your beloved Agents of Mayhem? And the fact that you're its number one fan. I mean, that's.
I'm the biggest fan in the world.
I think you might be.
I mean, yeah, you can swap characters at any moment, So, like, if you're bored of, like, being one person, you can switch to somebody else, and now you're, like, a rollerblading person with different guns and different grenades and stuff like that. It's not a terrible answer. I think we've offered some better ones, but Agents of Mayhem, underrated, I think.
I love that game, too.
You sounded bored when you were describing rollerblades and grenades, which probably isn't a good sign for Agents of Mayhem.
Well, you put me on the spot. I mean, the last time I thought about Agents, I had to kind of crawl into the recesses of my brain and be like,
Kyle's got to get jazzed up
characters?
in order to talk about Agents of Mayhem.
That's right. You can't go in cold to Agents of Mayhem. The AOM? Hell no. Sean Robbins writes in over on Patreon and says, hey, MinnMaxers, do you ever get a random hankering for a random game you haven't played for a few years? For me, it seems like every couple years or so, I'll really want to play some Roller Coaster Tycoon. I'll play it for a solid day, totally enjoy it, and just not touch it again for a few years. It was exactly as good as I remember it being, yet I don't have any desire to continue playing it. What's your hankering game? I love that, Sean. I think you don't need to feel guilty about that. I feel like that's the way games should be. What do you want? Like a
Shame on you, Sean. For me, I think Splinter Cell Blacklist is the one I continuously go back to, but most recently Sleeping Dogs was like, I really am hankering for this, and I got the definitive edition on Steam, and it still rocks.
what makes you hanker for those dogs? What's going on over there?
Speaking of fun moment to moment, that game has such a good combat system, like melee combat, and I love how confident they are not giving you a gun for so long, because they know just the hand-to-hand combat is like fun enough on its own.
I'm imagining it's like Arkham stuff.
A little less so. It's more about like having specific inputs that do specific things. Like you want to stun this guy and then be able to grab him and throw him into this other stuff, and using environmental takedowns. Like every fight feels like a really good kung fu fight because it's really part of the environment you're in. So like all the different areas of the city have their own different feel.
Huh. Yeah, I've never even dabbled with that game. I guess I should check it out at some point, I think. For me, it's I got a really boring one, but I have like my old CRT over by the fridge where I keep 6,000 cans of bubbly and all that stuff in the MinnMax studio. And every time I walk by it, I think, God, I should really fire up sorry about this one, but Amplitude or Frequency on the PlayStation 2, just like an old music rhythm game on that TV, because that is just some good peak gaming in my mind. And like specifically what I want to do, and I think I want to do it after I finish Chrono Cross for the deepest dive, and maybe I have a little more game and free time, is I really want to bust out Guitar Hero 2 and hook it up to that TV and just like go through the campaign for Guitar Hero 2. Because I don't think, as much as I love the first one, I don't think I ever like just finished the quote unquote campaign for Guitar Hero 2, and I think that'd be a really fun retro experience. I got my guitar just sitting over there. It's ready to go. So,
the game is co-op.
Oh, you want to come over and play and have fun?
I'm free.
All right. Well, look, I'll see if I can remember your phone number. We'll see what we can do. If it's not streamable, is it even worth it to have fun, you know?
Exactly. Looking at a sunset, I say, how can this be content?
Anybody else got a hankering for anything?
Well, Xbox is like really good for this because like recently I don't remember why I was even thinking about it, but I was like, man, I only played Max Payne 3 like when it came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I think it was really good. And I went on like the Xbox store, and it was like it happened to be on sale for like $5. So I downloaded Max Payne 3 and played like the first 30-40 minutes, and I was like, ah, this is good. And then I did the same thing with Grand Theft Auto 4. It was like super cheap on the Xbox store, and I just played through the first hour of Grand Theft Auto 4. And I was like, yeah, this is really good. I like this one. And then this weekend I was playing Plants vs. Zombies on my iPhone.
Yeah.
And it was another moment of like, I kind of want to play that. And it was like, this is still really good.
Man, I
and I ended up playing it for much longer than I planned to.
That game is so good. I have it on Steam because that's one that I've never finished. And I kind of feel bad about it. I'm sorry, Sarah, are you melting down?
I just inhaled coffee. I'm okay. I'm recovering.
Look, we all want to feel alive in our different strategies.
How great Plants vs. Zombies is.
Yeah, I could not figure out what was making her melt down.
Oh my
there.
God. Okay, I'm good.
Okay, good. Are you feeling more
Sarah's
alive or
wiping
less
tears
alive?
from her eyes for the podcast.
I almost died. Oh, God. Death was close.
Anyways, before I was rudely interrupted, I was going to say Plants vs. Zombies is good. So, hey, dive in, everybody. Did you learn anything about Max Payne 3 going back and playing the opening? Was it different than you remembered? More dramatic, less dramatic? More annoying, less annoying?
It's a lot more. There's a lot of like table setting for like why Max is where he is. Or he's at like a party and everything's getting explained in a lot of detail and like characters are getting introduced. And I'm like, I don't remember any of these people. All I remember is like the slow motion shooting, but they really start the game with a lot of confidence of like, hey, look, we're telling a story here. Here are the protagonists and the antagonists. You're probably going to shoot some of these people. And I like that did not linger in my brain at all these years later.
I went back to that pretty recently too, and what stuck out to me was how the ragdolls, when you shoot people, are still the best gaming I've ever produced. I don't know
really
where we went from there, but it just looks so much better than modern to me. It's crazy.
Well, they have that tech that was developed and used in Star Wars Force Unleashed. No, I don't know if it was even GTA 4. I could be wrong about that. But like Rockstar is like the only one that continues to use it. It's like a very specific tech.
Euphoria?
I think so.
Or is that the GTA 4 thing?
That was what they used in GTA 4.
Right.
Okay.
But then I forget the name of the Force Unleashed one, but I totally know what you're talking about. We didn't really talk about the fact that Remedy's remaking Max Payne 1 and 2. Kyle, do you have hot thoughts on that?
I mean, the hot thought is like I can't wait. I think it's really interesting that they're doing it and it's not getting outsourced. I love an excuse to replay those games. I was playing Max Payne 1 on my phone like within the last 6 months with the Backbone controller, which is like totally a fine way to play that game, you know? I was very excited to see that announcement. I mean, I'm very excited about any Remedy announcement, and yeah, so I'm totally there.
Yeah, and it seems like they're setting up for like what they said it's going to be on scale with or on par with kind of our AAA production. So it seems like they're kind of taking the Resident Evil 2 level approach to it. It's not just a matter of like a glorified remaster or something like that. It's wild stuff. I'm sorry, but Sean's hankering. Anybody else got a good hankering for a gamerin?
Hankering for a gamerin.
It's not that old, but I keep every now like once a year I'll go back to No Man's Sky. Because they every year they'll put out a new announcement of like, look at all this new content we made, and I'll start a new game and like go to one or two planets and not even get to the point where the new content is anyway, but still enjoy my time with it. Strangely. Yeah, I don't know what it is about that game that I think it hasn't completely clicked for me in the way that I wanted it to. So there's still like that feeling of like, oh yeah, I should go back to it. And I enjoy my time with it once I start playing it, but it still doesn't completely scratch that itch. And so after another year passes, it's like time to go back to No Man's Sky and keep trying to live out this space fantasy, I guess.
Yeah, and it's slowly getting closer and closer to being the ultimate fantasy.
I would assume so. I never get to the new upgrades anyway. So.
Yeah, that's Victor Garcia writes, hey, everybody. I've been playing my GameCube a lot these last few weeks, and it's reminded me that the Wavebird is one of my favorite controllers. What are your top 3 controllers of all time?
NES.
Oh, nothing better.
Lying, right?
Peak gaming.
Yeah, I'm lying.
Yeah, he's giving me
Thank
crap.
God, because I wasn't sure, and I think that speaks volumes for what I didn't realize I thought of you. So my apologies, Kyle.
No, I think he's getting to the point, Janet. That, like the fact that people defend the NES controller in any significant way and say that it's better than any modern gaming controller.
Like something about the sharpness
Absurd.
of those corners. Like I don't know, it wakes you up in the morning. Yeah, the Wavebird's a great one. I absolutely adore that controller. That's up there for me. Even like just the base GameCube controller, I think is incredibly comfortable, which obviously the Wavebird is a GameCube controller.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit whack to say like the ones we have now, but they are really comfortable. I mean, I love the DualSense specifically. I think it's such an upgrade from the DualShock in terms of it having that extra weight. Like I really like how that controller feels. I think Xbox has really like kind of knocked it out of the park with their feel as well. And then like, y'all mentioned like the backbone before. I think the backbone also feels really good. I mean, it's not a traditional controller in that it's like a shell for your phone, but I think that also has like pretty good ergonomics. But yeah, I don't know. Everything's good except for maybe with the Pro Controller. I think I'll put the Pro Controller over the Xbox controller.
You would?
Maybe
Really?
my favorite one too. Yeah. I think so for me
wow.
personally.
I like the Pro too, yeah.
It's a little
Switch
bit
Pro, right, is what you're saying?
smaller. Yeah, the Switch Pro controller,
I
I
like
think.
the
It's
Switch
a little
Pro,
bit smaller.
I don't like the PS5 controller. It is the controller that hurts my hands the
My
most.
hands hurt too when I use the PS5 controller.
What flavor of hurt? What angle of hurt? What are we talking here?
I think my thumbs don't reach the thumbsticks. Like they're so far into the controller, I have to really extend my thumbs.
Yeah.
So this muscle right here, after like playing Elden Ring for a few hours, it just hurts.
Huh.
It's too big. We need to go back. Why did we move away from the GameCube controller? I don't understand why they just decided that like a big button was dumb and we should just have similarly sized buttons. With like why did we move away from that?
We strayed from God's light.
Yeah, I think
when we left the GameCube era.
I think just gamers got smart enough to realize that, it was an interesting idea back in 2001 of like, we'll make gaming more approachable by having one big green button that says A and nobody can resist pushing that button. But now you don't need it. We're
far the other way now because you have 4 identical buttons on these 3 controllers, except it's A, B, X, Y or B, A, Y, X or
and they're not
X,
the same.
Oh, it's very confusing to new players.
I also, I mean, GameCube, I feel like I'm glad we're all kind of on a similar page because like I really love the GameCube controller a lot. And another thing that's nice about it is the way you can roll your finger on other buttons. Like I think that's kind of an under sort of appreciated element of that layout.
Just the X
it's
and
easier
Y
to go
thing.
from A to X to Y to B. Like I don't really like the triggers on the GameCube that much. But yeah, it's still, I think it's the most, at least for me and my hand shape or whatever, I feel like the GameCube is still the most comfortable to hold.
For the audio listener, Kyle's hands are shaped normal.
Yeah. God, that would be the greatest piece of footage that you could ever unearth. Forget like, better footage of the JFK assassination or anything. What I'd want is just like sorry, is this a dark episode? What's happening? No, but like what I'd want.
What happens when we take away Ben's structure?
Yeah,
It just,
that's
like, falls
exactly
apart
true.
completely.
Jen's like, I've entered the darkest recesses of my mind,
is
and
the
I'm here
darkest
for 2
timeline.
hours. with
Somebody
all of
give
you.
me bullet points. Speaking of bullet points, what's up with the Zapruder film? No, but here's the thing, everybody. Here's what I'm trying to say is I would just love footage of Nintendo talking about the triggers on the GameCube controller. Like, what was the thinking for like, let's have it so that you have to press it and then press it what feels like about 2 feet down before it actually triggers that trigger? Like, what is the logic? What's more fun about having to press that chunk of plastic all the way into the recesses of the controller?
There's
Is it
like
just so you can rest your fingers on it without
it's
worrying
the
about?
springiness to it. It's like, and you hear the clicks and the
It had a
clacks.
click. You could hear the spring
Yeah.
and like the click.
Yeah.
When you're playing
I feel
Smash and you're out there like it's fun. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying it was good or that we haven't gotten like better triggers since then, but like, I mean, I thought of those and I missed those triggers when Sunshine came out on the Switch because I'm like, well, how am I going to spray? Mario, how will I spray the nozzle without the springy triggers?
And I feel like PlayStation 5 has actually kind of circled back around to that idea. Like Returnal is a good example of like having like multiple clicks on that trigger that are actually like useful with playing the game.
But there's not with the GameCube. It's still just analog, right? Ultimately?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, like certain games on PlayStation 5,
some
because of the
sensitivity.
force feedback, it can make it feel like the GameCube trigger. And I bet there was also a concerted effort to not make the GameCube trigger look like a gun trigger, where Xbox was like, yeah, screw it, it can look like a gun trigger. We'll
want it to
use
look like
that
a
in
gun.
marketing.
Yeah.
You're dual wielding.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The wonderful Z button on the GameCube, it does have a little like dimply thing on it, right? What? That's a weird choice too. Look, there's a lot of questions about this GameCube controller. I'd put the Series X as number 1 for me. Every time I pick that thing up, I think it's just so cozy, and I like that it's just a little bit smaller. I like the texture on the back, everything that's going on there. And then I think PS4,
Yeah,
and then maybe Switch Pro.
I was going to say, how is it different from the Xbox One controller?
It's super close. It's just a little bit
grippy on
smaller.
the back, which sounds like dumb and small. I mean, there is like a button. I think they added a share button, right? Like, isn't that new?
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't care about that. Like when I'm playing, I'm not like, thank God I can move my thumb over and share. Like, I don't really care. But I do like the grippiness on the back. And maybe it has a slightly different weight. They're very, very similar. But I do feel like the Series X feels a little bit more like luxurious in its weight and its texture.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of which, Jeff, you came by and picked up a hot play date for my place. Did you play that weird thing yet?
Yeah, I played some stuff that was interesting. Can we talk about all the games? I don't know which ones we can talk about.
Yeah.
Can't talk about. I liked the one with the puppy working at the
Pick Pack Pop. We've converted another one. Hell yeah.
Oh my God.
That one's very good.
Damn right it is.
And then I spent too much time on like we're gonna summon demons for some.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that one too. I'm just too dumb to figure it out.
Yeah, I didn't do great. I only summoned one demon, but I found
One
myself
more than I did.
continuing to try longer than I should have. But I feel like the Pick Pack Puppy one was the standout one for me, at least of the ones that I played.
Awesome.
That was like a legitimately cool puzzle game that I wish I could play on other things that aren't. Not that there's anything wrong with the play date.
Not that there's ever anything wrong with the play date. Kevin Cooper writes in and says, hey, cohorts, all three consoles have essentially the same controller button layout. Have you heard about this? With minor differences, which is great for multi-platform games, but I feel like you cannot have unique experiences like the crank from the Playdate. My God, Kevin, how'd you know? What is a charge to oh boy. What is a change to the standard controller or attachment you would want to see in the future that would break away from the norm? What do controllers need here?
Rear touchpad.
Everything needs that Vita rear
Vita
touch.
style.
Vita means life,
Tearaway
baby. 3,
or I don't know. I'm not sure how many Tearaway games there are.
Just one. 1.5 kind of with the port.
1.5. What I was a simple one that we've actually even, funnily enough, like brought up in the last question a little bit was like, let's make those face buttons bigger. Like, why are they so small? Like, I like one of the reasons I like the Switch Pro controller is those 4 face buttons are super big. Like, they're larger than, the Xbox or the PlayStation face buttons. It's a small thing, but it's like, I don't want the controller to be bigger. I just want the buttons to be bigger.
Huh. Overflowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Overflowing. That's how I want my controller described.
Hell yeah. Get it.
Overflowing.
Leo, do you really want more of that back touch freakiness?
No. I think in general, a lot of the one-off things don't stick around past a generation for perfectly good reasons. But I don't know. What about like a trackball? You spin the ball like Golden Tee in the center of the controller for maneuvering around the map. Kind of like a touchpad.
I mean, the
Also, could use it
PlayStation
for mouse.
controller has that big touchpad that no one's using. You might as well replace it with a trackball.
It would be more fun just to play with and stuff during a long cutscene in Horizon. Just bring it in and just like spin the ball over and over again. That'd be fun.
Right.
The 360 controller, it almost looks like that already because it's like that sort of circular.
Imagine if you could spin that home button.
Do you remember how misleading that the original Xbox controller was? I remember first seeing that. I remember thinking that like the little bulb in the middle, the little center space, I thought that would like move. I was imagining it would look like, this is a very deep cut, but the center of the Jumanji board game board, and that like things would like shape and change, and it would show like
You thought
new
it would
things
be
in there.
magic?
I thought the original Duke would be
thought it would
magic.
be a Dreamcast.
You were
then it
convinced
turns
they
out-
had figured out magic?
Yeah, it's just kind of a dumb hunk of plastic with an Xbox logo on the inside. It's not nearly.
Yeah,
as cool
I
as
thought
was
it would at
expecting.
least be a button or something.
Yeah,
but
something. Thank you, Jeff.
It's just a, yeah.
It's nothing.
So I got a new TV recently, and the TV remote actually works like a Wii pointer, which is kind of fun,
Yeah.
but like not new. I've seen TVs have that before, but like the thing that kind of threw me off that I actually really like and would like to see integrated into a console controller is it has a scroll wheel in it. Like the button, the center D-pad button that you press to select things is also a scroll wheel. So when I pull up Netflix, I can use the scroll wheel to scroll through Netflix. And I could totally see that slotting into like a controller. And there's like plenty of PC games that use the scroll wheel, as it is. Like, let's put that on a regular console controller.
No.
Is that okay, Ben? You seem upset about this.
I'm thinking about like how that would come into play for any game. I mean, you say
Menu selection, switching weapon, like the same way you use it on a PC game.
All right, you know what? You convinced me. Put it on the controller, damn it. Jeff Mayer writes in and says, "Hey, what's your favorite game you've created for yourself within a game? For example, back in the day playing Tomb Raider, you get to mess around in Lara's mansion, and the butler follows you around. I would have him follow me into the freezer and lock him in there to see what happens. Spoilers, he would get all blue and cold, poor guy, but funny. Okay, maybe that's not a game, but I promise I'm not a sicko, but you get the idea. Jeff, I did the exact same thing. I don't
Did Ben
remember.
write this in? Like,
I promise I'm not a sicko. I totally played that as well in Tomb Raider 2, like lured the butler into that freezer, and he would just make the same sound of like, oh, just weird old guy sounds. Look, gaming was dire back then. We had to take as much fun as we could get, any place we could find it. But yeah, games within a game. Surely we've all done this, yes?
with my brother, we do it less now that FIFA, around, I think FIFA 21 maybe, or 20, they added house rules to their game. That might have been around the Volta era, so that might have been 2019. But house rules is essentially a mode in FIFA that kind of adds an arcadey element to the game. So it'd be something like, and I'm botching some of these, but just to give you an example, like King of the Hill, where it's, in order to unlock the goal, you must like hold possession for X amount of time within a square that's auto-generated on the field. And then if you rack that up even higher, like you can do like ×3, ×4, whatever. And then if you were to score before your timer like runs out, you like get 4 points for that goal. So it's a way to just kind of like add weird elements to the games. Before that existed, me and my brother already did that. We would do matches that, you know, we still played normal, but in our heads, like, we changed the rules. So it'd be something like, okay, for this one, we're playing the game, but you can only shoot. Like, no passing's allowed. You're gonna have to take the ball all the way up the field. Or we do stuff like, really dumb stuff, like, you only can win by scoring on your own goal, which, like, the game's designed to go against that. So we'd, like, try to break in that way.
That's
or we
fun.
did no rules where red cards counted as a goal. So obviously they're just virtual. So it's okay to hurt these players because they're not real, you know? So we try to, like, foul all crazy, but then you'd, like, lose people on the pitch because a red card ejects a player, but then you get a point. So it's like this push-pull of that. So those are the closest like games within a game that we still do them from time to time. But now that FIFA's incorporated some elements of that goofiness through the design, we're able to just do that instead of doing our own weirdo thing on the side.
Have you ever tried to contact actual FIFA to try and get these rules going just for like one wacky game per season?
No, but I joke about, because I wrote an article about like me doing this and I like posted it online, and then like a year or two later they had house rules and I'm like, they read the article, you know, like the streets are watching. I hope they add more to it because it's super fun.
I want all sports to get wackier. Just like one game a season, everybody to lose their minds. Like I think we talked about it a little bit, but was it last year where the MLB, they had that game that they played on the Field of Dreams field? It's like, yes, more silly stuff like that.
Ted Lasso FIFA crossover. Like I think there's so much room for both and that's kind of what they did with Volta, where they're like, we're bringing in street soccer. Now it's still kind of complex to play. Like I don't think it'd be good for a casual audience to necessarily play Volta. Like it's not FIFA Street, which I feel like I wish they leaned more into that. But so much of, I think, a love of the sport comes from things like that, media, you know, playing in the park, not having a fit, you know, doing drills. And I think them leaning into that would be good for the game and for like, I don't know, exploring the sport. And I think it's cool because since it's a video game, you should be able to do things that I can't do in real life. So besides me being Ronaldo, like let me have a giant head or have the ball be super fast, which is also one of the house rules.
One Rocket League car in there.
Exactly. Is it too much to ask? Exactly.
Yeah, like why not? I mean, they still have the serious stuff. Like, yeah, like throw more dumb stuff in FIFA.
Did you see that story this week, Leah, that 2K is developing what sounds exactly like a Rocket League game, except it's like on bicycles? It's called like Gravity Bikes or something. I forget if that's the code name or just the concept, but it's
210 alert.
What's that?
It's a 210 alert. Like that's definitely going to be there. Leo's like, you're not going to believe it, but this bicycle game, it's like the best thing I've played.
But I guess you can like throw like Tron discs at each other or something. This is like, you know, very early rumors and stuff like that. But it's so weird that like in 2022, 2K is like, wait a minute, let's make a Rocket League. It's so bizarre.
Gravity Goal, it's called.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Let's see. For me, boy, this is a deep cut, but I remember having a lot of fun back in the day at a friend's house where we were playing a dirt bike game on the PlayStation 1, and we just turned it into hide and go seek. And I remember thinking it had like open world thrills. It's like, oh, you can go anywhere on this track okay, and I'm going to face a certain direction, and then you have to come find me somewhere in this world. And for some reason, it was very apparently hard to do, or it was easy to hide or something, but I went back to try and find it, and I spent my morning looking at a bunch of dirt bike games on the PlayStation 1, which it's a real rabbit hole. I feel like maybe it's a New Show Plus contender, just playing every dirt biking game on the PlayStation 1. But I think it was Supercross Circuit was this one from 1999.
I did that too. I did like the hide and seek in multiplayer games.
Yeah?
I think mine might have been like Crystal Chronicles would be like, go wedge your character somewhere on the map and I'll try to find you. And like, it was always hard because you could see you can see your your friend's mark on like the mini map.
Right.
So it's like, don't look at the mini map. Like that's cheating. But I definitely think more games should have like a hide and seek mode. Because it's just so, I don't know, it's just so much fun to me. It's always fun.
I agree. Did you ever play Game & Wario on the Wii U? There is a hide and seek. I think
Did
it's
they have
called,
hide and seek?
I think
want
it's
like
called,
Fortnite hide and seek. Like, I want like open the map, no guns, last person hidden wins.
You know, hang on, Sarah, should I write this down? Hang on, this might be good because we can just go through and play a bunch of custom matches in all these games and then just make it hide and go seek in every single one. All right, New Show Plus. Thank God we have this
Hide
thing.
and go seek.
Yeah, hide and go seek.
I already play that because I can't shoot and I can't build. So I was like, all I can do is hide. I'm in this bathtub until the world ends.
Yeah, that's every battle
That's
royale
how I
game.
play. That's
Now
how I
that you
play
mention
Rainbow
it.
Six Siege.
Oh
I
my
just
God.
lay down in a bathtub and I'm like, hope nobody finds me.
That's how I relax on the weekends. That's really weird.
That's what I say. Having some me time and It's funny that you bring up biking, Hanson, because one for me was Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX, which is like weird that that's the one we landed on because it was like part of that Tony Hawk bust, right? Where like everyone was trying to make a Tony Hawk game.
Yeah.
And I think Tony Hawk had a level creator in it. And then Matt Hoffman just happened to as well. That was just the one that landed in my lap for whatever reason. And my brother and I would make obstacle courses with like spikes on the ground and stuff where you could
That's
die.
cool.
Like, so it was like, it was more about like, it was less about like trying to do tricks or cool, putting ramps in the best places. It was more about like putting tiny little paths that you could sort of like get through and hopefully you don't fall in the pit of spikes below. I don't know why there were spike pits in the Matt Hoffman Pro BMX level creator, but like, yeah, we would make like obstacle courses for each other.
I think there's a Polygon video about why there are in that and
Really?
in Tony Hawk's creator. Why there
Oh
are
my, I
Bungie
gotta track that down. That's so funny.
Matt and the whole Hoffman family just love death pits and spikes. It's kind of their whole thing.
Don't go to their house.
Don't go to their house, dude. Marriott Player says, hey, cohorts, did y'all ever have a Game Boy camera? I got one a few years ago, and I think it's really neat. Hell yeah, Marriott Player. I love that. Just a few years ago, picking up a Game Boy camera. Yeah, I love that thing. A good friend of mine had it. I remember, this was the most fun you could have back in the day. Really, get ready, everybody. We'd go on road trips, and then we'd take pictures of the cars as they'd pass by us. And then we'd put the little sticker of like Luigi and Mario running, so it looked like they were running, trying to not get hit by the cars. It was good gaming.
Oh man.
Did anybody, Sarah?
That would be another good new. That'd be a good New Show Plus of you just going around Minneapolis and taking pictures of places, and then we have to try and guess where they are.
Okay. That sounds fun.
Find you and kill you at the end?
Yeah. This sounds great. Hey, it's New Show Plus. You vote.
That looks like is that the back of my head?
It is kind of hard to like explain how revolutionary the Game Boy camera was at the time, because like now like every device you have has a camera on it, but like I remember like going on a field trip and someone had the Game Boy camera and we went to like an art museum and they were just taking pictures with their Game Boy camera, and I was just like, what is this device from the future that you're carrying around in your pocket? Like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
You can like do borderline animation with this thing. This is insane.
Yeah, you could put your head on like the Game & Watch ball game. It's so cool. Not just to look at younger people, but like Janet and Sarah, you're hip to the Game Boy camera, right? Have you seen this thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't have one, but I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. You
Yeah.
seem
I
underwhelmed.
wasn't-
Oh,
Like-
we're aware of it.
It wasn't on my radar of like a peripheral to get, you know?
thought
Like there's only
quality
so many
wasn't-
Christmases. Like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
waste an ask on the Game Boy camera. But it is cool. And I feel like I like that Nintendo's done a lot of that stuff. like the 3DS having, the like I knew kids that would do like stop motion animation videos with like the 3DS and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So yeah.
Yeah, stuff's super cool.
Are we going to get a Playdate camera?
Can we
can
get a
see it.
backlight first? Like,
Let's walk
Or
before we
Wormlight
run.
at least. Like,
Yeah,
just really
Wormlight,
kick it
yeah.
old school and add the little thing on there.
Just plug it right in that USB-C port on the bottom there. That'd be great.
Yeah, I forget. I mean, Game Informer, they had a back in the old office, they had a cabinet that had like 3 different Game Boy cameras in it. And I forget if we ever tried to boot them up to see what the old pictures were like. I'm sure there's just some debaucherous pictures from the mid 90s on those old things, but it seems weird that I wouldn't have tried to look at those old pictures, right?
I have a memory of us plugging it in and even trying to get the printers going. 'cause
Oh,
there
I
were a
think
couple
we
Game
did.
Boy printers
I think we
for
did
Extra
print
Life, I
something at
think.
some point. Yeah. Yeah, because I always wanted to record an episode of the Game Informer Show podcast with the Game Boy camera going through the Super Game Boy and stuff. There's a way that I could have done it, but it was like, it's a real mess. Because I wanted to be able to switch between the 3 different cameras. For some reason, that's what I was hung up on. Also on the Video Game History Hour podcast, on that Kelsey Lewin co-hosts, they made some quick reference on an episode a while ago to something that I hadn't even considered, where Frank Cifaldi in that podcast is like, it's debatable whether or not the Game Boy camera invented the selfie. I was like, wait, what? But I guess that's a weird idea, because like the camera you could like fully rotate to like take pictures of yourself, or at least like the selfie camera. Like it was a weird pioneer that way.
Front-facing camera.
Front-facing camera might be a better way to put it. Yeah. But it was a really brilliant idea on their part. Hey, look at this. They heard us talking about him. James Game Boy himself wrote in and says, hello, everybody. I feel bad, but I dropped out of the Chrono Cross Deepest Dive after the first week. What? What are you doing, James?
Now we can't feed our families.
Yeah, how
I'm just kidding.
dare you? James, you do you. We can't judge. I intend to eventually get back to it, but it's just hard to know when I'll have the time and inclination. Well, you should find the time. Chrono Cross rules. My question is, and Jeffem is excused, but what game do you all feel the worst about not finishing?
Why is Jeffem excused?
Because
I think we all know why Jeff
Red
was
Dead?
because we've been screaming him about Red Dead since before Red Dead Redemption 2 came out somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jeffem, you just sit back and you enjoy yourself, buddy. No one's going to scream at you. I promise.
Then
But
why are
yeah.
we even here?
I guess that's a good point. But yeah, what
did
game
we
do you
go?
feel the worst about not finishing? Is there anything jump to mind?
Disco Elysium, I really should have finished by now.
Yeah.
For how much I claim to think it's cool.
Yeah, and you're always telling us how smart you are and like you're into literature and stuff.
Yeah, I love to read.
Prove it.
I can't wait to start reading.
I
Sure,
think
it's fundamental.
Xenosaga Episode 1, I feel bad about never finishing. I remember like the game's economy.
Their bills are mocked?
That's right. A little freaky, Kyle. Yeah, I feel bad because I remember I got like a strategy guide for that back in the day. And there's something about the game's economy where at some point I lost all my money or I needed to get a lot of money to do something and I completely trailed off. But it sucked that like that game I'm sitting at 80% on still. I'll feel guilty about that for the rest of my life.
My most recent one is the Nier remake, Replicant.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm literally on the end boss. Like I fought them once and died, and I was like, okay, I'll get back to this later, and just happened. I think something about, because like even though I'm not obligated to play it more than once, no one's gonna yell at me if I just beat it once. I feel like I'm not getting the full experience if I don't play it again, and so like that little hurdle of like beating that boss, it's like, well, I can beat the boss, but then like I'm gonna feel like I need to keep playing, and it's like, do I even want to do that? What if I just leave here and then and then I'm done forever? But I won't uninstall it for some reason. Every time I scroll past it to uninstall things, I'm like, well, I'm on the end boss. I should go finish it. So I don't know.
Give it a couple years.
I'm torn
You'll
about
fold.
it.
You'll cave. And Jeff, what's wrong with you monster? How often do you think about Red Dead 2?
No, honestly, Red Dead was not my answer for this because
Ooh.
I don't feel guilty because I still am determined. I still feel in my heart like I know I'm going back to
No.
it and I'm going to finish it.
I believe you.
why-
No, like I genuinely believe that because
No.
people
Like-
give
like-
me shit for not finishing. Like I'm still playing Uncharted 4. I've been playing it for almost a year now. I'm gonna finish it. Like I'm going at, this is what my pace looks like. I'm either finishing games in 3 days and I'm ready to talk about it, or I'm taking 30 years because there's no point in finishing it any faster. It doesn't benefit me.
But you at least started
And
Uncharted
it's-
4 like last year. Jeffem started Red Dead in 2018 and has been insisting for 2.5 years now that he will get back to
You know
it.
what? I'm not done with Breath of the Wild
But I
yet.
feel like I'm
got
not-
that.
I'm not
Yeah,
losing anything.
Okay.
So-
All right.
I feel like it's not, like it's not aging horribly. Like it's still going to be just as good if I play it next year as it would if I played it now.
I mean,
I'll get to it.
You have to beat it before the next Rockstar game releases. That's a generous timeline for you, dude.
So he's got like 30 years.
That's right. Yeah, get cozy, bro.
I can do that.
All right.
But no, my
dead.
answer for it was Bloodborne. Is the one that I still feel, because I like that setting so much more than I think From Software's other games up until Elden Ring, and I really enjoyed what I played of it, and I played a fair amount of it. But then that's one I still have installed. I install it on my PS5 now to carry it over from PS4, and it's one that I'm like, I got to get back to that one. I don't know. I guess I don't have the same feeling in my heart of like knowing that I'm going to go back to it and finish it for sure.
Right.
I do with Red Dead, but so.
Yeah, From games also, you got to have that rhythm. It's really tough to go.
I feel like I'd have to start over at this point anyway.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Luca Alberti writes in and says, I salute you, MinnMax crew. This week, we saw the announcement of the delay of the Mario movie. Hey, Sarah, it's your favorite topic.
No!
Honestly, when I read the beginning of the tweet that said, this is Miyamoto, I thought it was a retirement announcement. Nintendo has made no secret that they're keeping Miyamoto out of the spotlight because they don't want fans to be too attached when he inevitably leaves. I don't know about that. But
Is that what they're doing? I feel like they're not keeping him out of the spotlight.
I mean, I think it's just probably a result of COVID that there was like a gap there where it was like a year where we didn't hear anything about Miyamoto and there weren't really interviews and stuff. But I think it's just he's sitting at home.
He hasn't been in like any directs really. Like he introduced the Mario movie, but up until that point, he hasn't really.
I feel like they are trying to pass on some of that like fame and notoriety to like other people in Nintendo before, like he retires.
Yeah.
I can see that, but
Lucas says, this leads me to think, how would you go about communicating the man's long-awaited retirement? Is a message okay, or would a farewell video like Reggie did have to do? I love this question. Just a good old-fashioned messaging question.
Long-awaited, they said.
it's like Pikmin 4. Everyone's waiting for it.
This is maybe silly. I don't like thinking about this. It makes me upset.
It should.
Like, honestly.
I think you say he's dead, and then 10 minutes later you say, JK, he's just retiring.
then it's like less bad.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so messed up.
I think they should bring back the E3 puppets. When you remember at E3 when they had all those puppets?
Yep.
Bring back his puppet, please, and have the puppet announce it.
That's right. So the next time, or the next time after he retires, like Kazumi's out there or whatever doing the direct, if people are missing Miyamoto, they can just pull out the puppet real quick and just be like, hi, everybody. I'm back. A bad game is delayed once, or whatever.
Oh my god.
Yeah, turn him into a puppet.
Oh, that's it.
Have it be like someone casts a spell on him and he's a puppet, and then you just keep having the puppet come back
Prop him
in
up in
every
a corner.
Nintendo Direct.
That is so bizarre. Yeah, I think the retirement, I would almost be happy for him in a way, as long as I knew that he was happy just gardening, and I'm sure he's living in some beautiful little home out there on the outskirts of Kyoto, living a better life than we could all imagine. I think what freaks me out, Kyle, and I think you're in the same camp, is that it's like, that's step one. Step two is when Miyamoto goes down and dies, and that's going to be a rough day for the industry. Right?
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like thinking about it. The fact that it's will probably happen in my lifetime is upsetting. It makes me sad.
If you're lucky.
Don't like it.
Well, I would hope it happens in your lifetime, Kyle.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to make any assumptions about what's going on with me in the next 20 years. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't.
Like, I'm just saying, you don't know. You just can't. So why assume?
I think the way you do it, and I'm no messaging expert, but I think you make it like a celebration, right? Like you have like a special Nintendo Direct, and you say like it's a very special celebration of the man, the myth, the legend. And then you just make it like 30 minutes of him talking about the past, showing more old design documents, giving us some good history. And then it's just him waving goodbye at the camera as it slowly zooms in and fades out.
But even that, though, that
Shuffle him into the rocket.
You would, Poochie's gone to another planet.
Exactly.
Yeah, but like you would still have to though announce it, because I would hate them to be like, there's a special direct celebrating Nintendo's history, and then they're like breaking up with me, even though like obviously
Right.
I would be, if and when he chooses to retire, I like totally respect that and totally get that. I think he's had like one of the most incredible careers ever of all time, but it still would be really sad. And while I think a documentary or whatever would be nice, like I still want to like rip the Band-Aid off. Like, don't make me watch a Nintendo Direct and then, but one more thing, Mario's dead. No, I was Mario's dead. I was like, that's what it would kind of feel like. So like, I'd probably just want, I think a little short video, small enough to post to Twitter, and then maybe saying, hey, we are releasing this like documentary or whatever. Maybe he like does some whatever other content. I'm sure we probably would see him to some degree in the industry the way many other people are like, I'm stepping away, but also I'm here in a lot of places.
Yeah.
So like, hopefully we get more Miyamoto content, but
yeah, it's going to be slow. It's not going to be like he's retiring. They're going to like pull him back a little bit and like present other people. And then they're going to be like, he's no longer in this role, but he is still on the board.
Yeah.
Mostly because I feel like they're going to be worried about shareholders. Like once Miyamoto's gone, they're going to be like, it's over. It's the end of Nintendo. Like, it's over. So I think they're just going to slowly kind of like wean us off of him and like try to bring somebody else in, like a bait and switch.
Yeah, I feel like you're right. I feel like they're already doing
Miyamoto
that.
too.
Yeah, this is actually just like, it's Junior Miyamoto. Like, here you go.
It's got a paintbrush and a little hover car.
Yeah, you get a gold, like a goldfish dies, you get another goldfish, has same name.
Yeah,
It's the same.
No,
Miyamoto.
we are going to have, I mean, if we're lucky, like 20 years of that weird thing of just, I bet they're going to wheel him out as an old man to say hello like once every 6 years or something.
Wave to the shareholders from behind the window. He's definitely still here. Not dead.
That, or they could do the announcement of like, we have an important announcement. Miyamoto is retiring in 5 years.
Like the Jay Leno
And then
strategy.
just like it's on everyone's calendar. And the shock is blunted a little bit because we still got 5 good years with
but then I'd still be hoping that he's gonna Wolf of Wall Street it, be like, I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving, but like,
Right.
that's not gonna happen.
He's gonna
would do
retire.
the
The Jay Leno, like they replace him, and then after a year, they're like, actually, we're just going to bring Miyamoto back.
Right.
But yeah, shout out to Miyamoto. I was watching like some old, because I'm writing something about like some 3DS games, so I was watching like on Nintendo's website they have like different videos promoting like the whatever game. So it was Mario 3D Land, and they had like an interview with Miyamoto, and I was listening to it, and like I feel like this is like the nerdiest moment of my life, but I got kind of emotional like hearing him talk about the game that he made, not only because that's such a fantastic Mario game, like one of the best, most underrated ones in the franchise, like the perfect blend of 2D and 3D design. But like hearing him speak about it, I'm like, oh yeah, and he did do that, and he totally nailed this. And then just thinking about like what that franchise means to like me and so many people and gaming, like it's crazy. Like, I don't know. He's so great at what he does.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm weirdly emotional about him too. And it's like, I didn't really grow up with Nintendo games in a big way either, but it wormed its way into my heart, believe it or not. But just stuff like, I remember I was interviewing Will Wright once, and he was talking about working with Miyamoto and like smoking cigarettes and talking about the design of SimCity with Miyamoto. And just during the interview, like I got emotional just talking to Will Wright about it, like, but through proxy. I don't know, it was just that idea of just like, oh, this legend talking about this other legend, but there's just something, it's nice to have a figure who undoubtedly is probably a very scary man to work for, but still for all of our perspective is just this heartwarming soft spot for everybody. And we're all looking forward to the film. Ricky Winterborn writes in and says, Leo's Gamer Rage video on his own channel was really well done.
Thank you.
There it is. Anyone who grew up playing Xbox Live can deeply relate with the predicament. I fell off online first-person shooter games mainly because of that feeling of intense judgment and the highs and lows that come with competitive games. It got to the point where almost every match had a try-hard antagonizing everyone to the point where you had to mute all chat, which feels kind of depressing in its own way. Are humans doomed to ruin everything that was once fun? Do you think any game with voice chat is a positive experience these days with randos? Is it possible?
I never joined voice chat ever. Like never in all of the, competitive esports gaming that I've played have I ever joined voice chat. I usually play with friends, so like there's still communication happening.
Yeah.
But some people are like, oh, like, but if you don't join voice chat, like you're missing out on, communicating, and like then your team's gonna be worse. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't feel like getting belittled and demeaned on this nice day. Like I play games to have fun, not to like feel bad about myself.
Did you ever do it? Like, did you wean yourself off it? Did you try it early on?
I wouldn't say anything. So I would just like sit there muted. And like, honestly, like for most competitive games, I don't know how much communication you need. Like, it's good, but it's like we're not esports. We're not Cloud9. We're not, like, we're not going in for $50,000 here.
Yeah. Not to
when I love coordinating in games is when I coordinate with my friends and win a round in Siege and we all feel amazing and are congratulating each other. And I just like don't really care about having that kind of experience with somebody I've never met and will never see again.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Not Sarah, not to put you too much on the spot, but like, do you think it's just being a woman? You don't even want to put your voice out there because it's going to be so much worse?
Yeah.
Or is that not a factor?
I mean, it's like, why risk having one awful experience just because you might have one mediocre game? You know?
Right.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. My friends were getting back into Overwatch. I guess it was last year. And I just remember talking to Ronnie about it. He was just like, it's horrifying out there. Like, I had no idea that it had gotten that bad. And it's probably always been that bad. But just dabbling in that water again, then remembering like, oh, that's right. Just being berated in every match, trying to have a good time. It is a nightmare.
Yeah. That reminded me of trying to get back into Overwatch about a year and a half ago with one friend and a bunch of randos, and I nearly cried.
Oh no.
They were so mean to me for not knowing what I was doing. They just picked it back up after a while.
Oh, yuck.
This is weird, but like there's a Mitch Hedberg joke about how people should only be allowed so many horn honks on their car in a month.
That's brilliant, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I want to honk at this guy, but I shouldn't have honked at Jimmy on the sidewalk last week. And that's like, I wonder if that's something that could be integrated into like voice chat, is like you only get like 2 minutes worth of chat time a match, so you have to say something constructive. If you're using it to just yell at people, you're just wasting your spoken time. Like, is there a way to reward positive reinforcement?
They would still use those precious moments.
Yeah.
Most slurs are very short and punchy.
In some way.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know how everybody's feeling about this Overwatch 2 situation, but I was watching Blessing from Kind of Funny stream it last night. I haven't been following him that closely, but I was like, hey, tuning into Overwatch 2 stream, this will be cool. It was, I don't mean to alarm anybody, it was Overwatch 1. It was bizarre to see that and be like, oh, this game that I really enjoyed back in 2016, it is stunning to like try and get the bullet point list of, okay, here's all the changes here, but no, this is actually Overwatch 2 now. Am I missing something big, or is this just one of the biggest failures of game production in years and years? It's
the
wild.
Splatoon thing. It's like Splatoon 1, Splatoon 2.
At least,
yeah,
okay, but that has like, new maps and stuff. But like jumping in, I would absolutely have no way of knowing that this was Overwatch 2 compared to Overwatch 1. And is it just because?
I think if you showed me Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, I might not know that either, unless like I think Mako Mart might be specific to 2.
Yeah.
And like one of the modes, like the weird football one that I don't like is specific to 2. But like, and not to say that means it's okay or that that's the best route, but to me that's what it's like. I think the awkward part is it's such a longer like gap though, where there was that conversation of like, oh well, Overwatch 1 will just live in this forever, and when they decided to do 2, it's already been like a while and they haven't done that. Well, Splatoon is on Splatoon 3 already, where like I've just accepted that like, hey, I have to keep buying Splatoon, even though maybe they could just make this a big ongoing game where they add in the campaigns instead, or they have season passes. Like, they're not doing that. They're doing a different thing. I think this thing has its foot kind of in both ideologies, and that's why people might end up being like, I want more out of 2. I want 2 to feel so much more different than 1, when I don't think it's going to, because it's still the core thing. Like, the core thing is what people like, so they need to change it enough to make it worth the money, but not so much so that they ruin it.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to dig in and do more research. I'm very naive on this topic. Reading that idea of like, I don't know, Leo, we should just stop talking about it. I feel like an idiot. But that idea of like, okay, there's the campaign that they're going to be rolling out eventually, but Overwatch 2 is also going to be in Overwatch 1, like the multiplayer, the PvP, that's all merged together now, but they're releasing Overwatch 2 early with the PvP. Leo, help me. Do you understand this?
It strikes me as an exercise in trying so hard to not piss off the community you do have that plays Overwatch 1 by like giving them the ability to play Overwatch 2 without charging extra or whatever.
Right.
Trying so hard to do that you end up pissing everyone off, including that community, because they're like, we want to do something new.
It's just wild to think of that team. And I'm not pulling out the lazy devs card or anything, but just, I understand Blizzard has 1,000 problems. But it is wild to think about like one of the biggest games from 2016. They've had all this time, and there's like, here's Overwatch 2, everybody, and imperceptible to somebody who's played over 100 hours of Overwatch 1 to jump in and assume that this is anything different. It's bananas.
Maybe they put all the time and effort into fixing the voice chat though.
Oh,
so
that's
people
true.
aren't jerks.
By just
Maybe
turning
it's
it
just
off.
really
You never
pleasant.
know. Could you hear the voice chat?
Yeah, but it's mainly Blessing and his friends, and they were yelling at each other, and they sounded aggressive.
Is Blessing
Jeff.
the problem online? It's
I
okay, you
didn't
can tell
wanna
me.
say- I didn't
Like,
wanna
it's time
say.
to find out.
Look, there were some words thrown out there that I wouldn't have used when I was online game. Mark Poley writes in, though, and says, I don't think Elden Ring is for me. And says, I'm ashamed about it. I think part of it might be because I can't commit to play sessions longer than an hour every few days. So remembering my way around these large dungeons is a nightmare. I love Breath of the Wild and its open exploration, but I think that game tended to be a lot more bite-sized, allowing me to pick it up and do something small while I can. I also enjoyed its sense of fun and catchy music to give me a sense of place. I guess I have two questions. Is this a valid take? I know you all love this game. Do you know anyone who doesn't? And do you have any games that you forced yourself to play even though you weren't feeling it personally? Yeah, Catherine Gilbert also written about the same thing, about just like, I don't like Elden Ring and it sucks. It sucks to not like
I feel
it.
so bad that we as this gaming society catfished so many people into playing Elden Ring. Because it's really not for everyone. It is very much still a Souls game. And if you keep dangling Breath of the Wild in front of people's faces for Elden Ring, they're going to get burned. It's not
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild.
Hey, when
And
we
I
had
think
our first
that-
Elden Ring discussion, I tried to make that very clear, and
Yeah.
Catherine was upset with me about it.
And it was
because
like,
I-
it's for everybody. And it is absolutely not.
My message is not it's for everybody. My message is I was terrified and I haven't really been hooked by any Souls games. I've been turned off and I jumped in and I found it a lot more approachable than I was expecting. So, but
And from the
to answer
outside,
that
that's what
first-
it looks like. It looks like everybody on the planet Earth loves it when they play it.
right.
That's just how it.
But to answer their question, it's fine. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's not for you. That's totally fine. And
Yeah.
I think only having you only have an hour a week. Like Elden Ring is not an hour a week game. It's just not.
Yeah. Leo, have you come to terms with moving on from Elden Ring? I know you dabbled a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolve
Join
you,
me.
dear listener.
Wow.
I absolve myself.
Yeah, we're the community. I don't like it.
Yep.
The end.
There we
I
go.
don't like
Oh,
it. It's
yeah,
not because
that's like,
I do empathize though, because it does suck, because I'm like, I want to be able to play it so that I can critique it, but I can't because I don't want to do all that because it's way too much work. And everyone's like, actually, if you turn around, you can just get stronger on this hill. I'm like,
Right.
I don't know where that is. I don't know how to get there. This jump doesn't feel good. This is a lot to read. It's too much work. It's too open. I'm like, barely thrived. I survived in Demon Souls because while that might be worse, it might be more boring. I'm just going to stand here. I'm just going to hit the same person over and over again. It's not really fun in a traditional sense, but it works. And I know where to go. And there's only 3 shortcuts and chat told me where they are.
Yeah.
Elden Ring, I'm like, I don't know what's happening. It was cool.
You can do that in Elden Ring if you want,
It's
Jeff.
too big. It's just
Yeah.
it's too much to wrap your head around for me personally.
You can
so I
find
don't
the first
like it.
enemy and just hit that enemy forever if you want.
That's
That's
what
gonna
my
take so long,
And it also
though, and
won't
that's
be
so
fun.
boring to
I
me.
know, I
That's
know, I'm
so
just
boring. So yeah,
That is fun.
I empathize and I don't like it. You're not alone, but it does have insane appeal though.
Yeah.
It's sold insane amounts, even for being such a niche thing. So it is that weird thing.
I do like the
being really
summary.
specific, but very popular.
Yeah, I do like the summary of the community for From Software and Elden Ring is just saying, actually, if you turn around, you can get strong on that hill. That's the best.
Yeah, it is.
That's
That's what
exactly
everyone
what
says.
it's like.
And I'm like,
It's exactly
look,
what it's
man,
like.
I looked at the hill. That seems hard too. I'm not looking at the right spot. I don't know how to find the right spot.
Actually,
And
I'm not
it's
even sure if
sad.
you've
It
even
bums
seen a
me
hill
out.
before with the way you're playing Elden Ring, because you should go on that hill and get strong. Yeah, but what about in general? Does anybody have other games that you force yourself to play even though you weren't feeling it personally?
I forced myself through all of Metal Gear Solid 5. Not through all of it. Through
Ooh.
the first ending. Because my community really wanted to watch me stream it. And it was I got through it and it was pulling teeth with me.
Really?
Some of those missions, I was just not the story, that was the first Metal Gear game I've ever played. They're
boy.
like, people in the chat were giving me lore about how these two people,
Nope,
and then it's
nope,
the
nope,
brother
nope,
of
nope, nope,
Solidus.
nope.
Rough entry point, I feel like.
Yeah, that's a
It
really
was funny
tough one.
though. I thought it was hilarious. But also I did not, if you asked me at any point if I was having fun, the answer was no, absolutely not.
The missions drag a little bit in that game. I think a huge part of that would be having the chat being Actually, like just the actually vibe in the chat, I
When
could
you
see
have to be
driving you
explained
nuts.
why what you're doing is fun,
Right.
I think that's a
The
personal
most
red
fun
flag.
was like
Obviously,
setting
people
my
like it, but-
helicopter songs.
That is great.
When I would do like the Chug Jug Fortnite songs, they'd be like, "Everyone victory war, Fortnite," and I'd be like, "This is the best part of the entire game."
And I remember somebody modded it on PC, so it played the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme as the helicopter came down to rescue you.
Oh, that's nice.
It's so good.
I think that's the main difference between a game you're like, not for me, that's fine, and a game you aggressively hate is being forced to finish it. I feel like that happens so much in this business, at least in my past, of like, I've really got to put more hours into this before I can effectively say why it's bad. And then I come away like, I want to destroy this game.
It just makes you feel worse.
Yeah, I've beaten plenty of games that I didn't like that much, but that's because it's that can be part of the career depending on how you craft your career. Like I've written guides for games that I otherwise probably wouldn't have played. I think ultimately though, like it can create like that bitterness that you're describing, Leo, for sure. But like a lot of times it's just like I get just more information on why I didn't like this thing. And occasionally stuff isn't like your taste. And I do try to avoid stuff that I don't think is in my wheelhouse. Like I wouldn't want to do like really important, like editorial or guide content for something like, like the Final Fantasy Online game. Cause I've never played it. I probably won't like it, but I'm down to try it. But I probably wouldn't, like I personally wouldn't spend the entirety of that game because I don't think that's a good use of my time. Like I don't think it's going to benefit anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know. I think you can, if you like it enough to get through it, you can still like learn some interesting things about yourself and design and what you like and what you don't like. And games can have different layers or like, oh, it ended really badly or it ended really well. But yeah, I mean, generally, I don't think I've played through anything I've really truly loathed like to that insane degree. Maybe part of Borderlands 3, but I didn't finish that, so it didn't end up mattering.
Yeah, I think the worst is like
kind of a weird one.
Yeah.
Which it was like it's almost like that middle ground of like I didn't hate it, but I wasn't really super engaged all the way through. It's Ni no Kuni 2.
you monster.
Which I think the thing that got me is Hansen can corroborate here. The first like 10 minutes of that game are like mind blowing of like, what? This is what this game is? And then I spent the rest of the entire game kind of being like, are we going to get back to that? Because that was really interesting.
Right.
And it kind of never really does. And at the 70% mark, I was kind of like, am I having a good time? And there was like, I had no obligation to finish it or anything, but it's like, well, I'm here. I guess I'll stay to the end.
I'll finish it. Or if it's short enough and it's like in my wheelhouse, like I didn't like a Memoir Blue kind of at all.
Yeah.
But by the time I really knew that for sure, I'm like, well, we only got like 20 minutes left. What am I going to just put it down? Like,
right.
why not finish it? Like, so I definitely have a buffet. I'm like, let's just finish it. It's just, why not? It's we're here.
You got to check it off the list. Yeah. And like Kyle, I hear you a little bit, but Ni no Kuni 2, I think is such a cozy game as you go on and like you build up the town, it's like, it's soothing and easy. It's a pretty good podcast game, but I hear you that we talked about it before.
Like that's why it's kind of a weird one. That's why I chose as my example, because like I didn't hate it. It's not you can't hate that game. It's kind of charming and sweet and cute and like combat's kind of fun. But it's just like I look back on it, I'm like, it's weird that I beat that game. I didn't have to do that.
Yeah, I feel like spoiler alert for the first 10 minutes of Ni no Kuni 2, everybody. We've talked about it before, but so you don't tease that riveting opening. I still can't wrap my mind around it. It opens with the President of the United States in a limo driving to
Ni no Kuni 2?
Yes, driving to a U.S. city, and then a nuclear bomb goes off in the city. Jump cut, the President of the United States is now...
game.
Yes, now the President is transported to the world of Studio Ghibli's Ni no Kuni 2. I know they weren't involved with the second one, but still.
Then it's a fantasy game from that point on, and there's a character who happens to be the President of the United States in another universe.
And like you're the only one that knows that he's the president. He's just like using a gun against like orcs and stuff. It is so cool.
Who greenlighted this? I have like so many questions.
It's the best.
I mean, Sarah, your reaction is perfect. That was like 100% my reaction. I was like, well, I got to keep playing this.
Yeah, you should look it up, Sarah. It's awesome. Good game. I agree, Kyle. Great game. Joseph H.
Game. Definitely a game.
Joseph H. writes in and says, I just beat Elden Ring over the weekend after something like 150 hours. Pause for applause.
Is that possible?
Janet, we could barely hear your applause there.
I know. I'm sorry.
You're not giving up for Joseph 150 hours, Janet. Are you kidding me? Here we go. Joseph.
Oh, there we go.
Jazzier! I'm like, all right.
All right. So this game is a masterpiece. Easily one of my favorites of the last couple generations, says Joseph. But the length got me thinking. What is the reason for games like this being so long? I feel like you were getting to this earlier, Janet. There are no microtransactions and no seasonal events like there might be in an online service game. So it's not like they're trying to bait you to spending more money. And most of the complaints I hear about games like this, even masterpieces like Elden Ring, is that they're too long or they get tedious by the end. Why do studios feel incentivized to make 100+ hour games where they could probably get away with releasing games half that long and sell just as many copies or get just as much praise? It's a good question, Joseph.
I think it's easy to tear a game down for not being long enough, and I think that probably does turn a lot of people off who have a limited game budget. I feel like something like Ghostwire Tokyo suffered from that, of like, this game rocks, but there's no reason for you to buy it full price when it's only like 12 or 15 hours. Like, you may as well wait for a sale. But Elden Ring is unapproachable.
That's the thing. If Elden Ring was 60 hours, I don't think too many people would be complaining. But I wonder if this is just a case of like, it's their first open world game and is tough to scale out the world and have a sense of how many hours it would take.
I feel like From Software is a special case in that, like, I think they have a vision for what they want their games to be, and they're going to work into that scope no matter what. And I don't think it's driven by like, hey, we need a long game because our fans might not like if it's not long enough, or we're going to sell more copies because it's long enough. I think Miyazaki just has like his vision and what they want to do, and they all work probably insane hours and crunch to make that happen. But I think for other, like, pick any Ubisoft game basically, and I think they're trying to hit those kind of goals of like, a game has to be this long. People are judging its value by how many hours you put in and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, I also don't know that Elden Ring didn't sell more by being as big as it is, because everyone talks about it. Like, that is I would assume certainly a selling point when everyone on the planet is like, this game is so massive, it's so amazing, like, you're gonna play it forever.
It's the only game
I'm sure that sold more copies because of it.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, like the Ubisoft thing is interesting as a comparison, because like for that, it's like, okay, more hours means more engagement, which means probably a higher chance that people will spend money on some of the microtransactions in the game. But yeah, for Elden Ring, I don't know. For a game that doesn't have microtransactions, I think it is just, following the vision of Miyazaki, I guess.
And I think they encourage multiple playthroughs. So like maybe your first playthrough isn't supposed to be almost 200 hours, but if you're like, so many people have a completionist mindset, I think, going into things, they're like, I gotta follow all the quest lines. I gotta make sure I got all the quest lines. And like, that's gonna add a ton of bloat to your playtime.
Yeah.
I think than if you just didn't, unless you just like kept going for the next run through, which I think they wanted each run to feel different too, which is why it's so big. Yeah,
for sure. Hey, did y'all see that announcement of Disney Dreamlight Valley that happened?
Yes. I figured it out.
What's that?
I figured it out.
What is it?
It is a game for Disney adults.
Yes, that's right.
Because the main character is like the character you play. Usually in all these Disney games, like I've played a few of them, you're a child. Mm-hmm. But this is the first one when you look like you're in your 20s.
Yeah, I wonder if they can scale it. Like, can you put an age on there so you could play this for kids? But it definitely feels that way, especially like in the key image for this thing. By the way, this is, they describe it as a upcoming life sim adventure game headed to early access on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 this summer ahead of our free-to-play launch in 2023. And it's from Gameloft, who normally make a lot of like mobile Ubisoft games and stuff like that. But the fact that in their key art, they have like Wall-E on there, it's like, that's a really interesting choice. So that's implying maybe they're catering to an older demographic, but I think it's just fascinating to see them creating this Stardew Valley-esque, Sims-esque experience. And especially when you just think about the fact that like calling it Disney Dreamlight Valley probably is only happening because Eric Baroni named his game Stardew Valley, and they're trying to get a little bit of that. But just, it's so weird, like,
but now
Valley.
I'm disgusted.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool that like an indie game could impact a corporation as big as Disney for me. Like, yeah, Valley is now code for good game. Yeah, we'll take that. Thank you.
I think my favorite is the clip that just says, "This is a place where you'll have no worries." Like Disney is like, look at all these 20-something-year-olds. riddled with anxiety,
Right.
can't buy houses, only have student debt. We could be making money off of this.
Yeah, exactly. Timon and
Free to play.
Pumbaa
I'm
say,
interested
"Come
in
on
what
by."
what the monetization is going to be like in that game.
Totally.
Also, I wonder if the game is like going to be kind of good or kind of bad, because I could see it controlling really jinkily just from the key like trailer. Because I've played games like that where it's like,
Right.
this is a cool idea, and then you play it and you're like, this feels terrible to play. So it doesn't matter. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I want to
We'll
fish
see.
with Goofy. I mean, I don't live to do that, but like I would be down to do that.
I'd like to see Woody run around. I'm corporationally curious. I think about
You can
what's
put
going
with
on here.
Ratatouille or something. Like,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
that seems
Like,
right.
why not?
What really made me laugh, and this is such a specific stupid thing, but in that trailer, there's a shot of like the main character walking across a bridge with Simba and Timon and Pumbaa, and they're doing like the classic bridge walk on the log from Lion King, where he's like rocking his head like Kuna Matata. But what's funny is in the trailer, it's like basically a bridge from like Animal Crossing. It's like a 5-foot
yeah.
bridge that they're going across, but they still
It's
have
like
time
1
to
inch
do their
above
little
the
head
water,
thing.
and the water is only like 2 feet wide.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Anyways, there's that.
Scale's a little off.
And then otherwise, in the world of gaming, the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe just came out on PC and all the consoles and stuff. If you've never played the Stanley Parable, I strongly urge you to jump in and play that thing, even if it's completely cold. If you like playing with the concept of games and little cheeky experiences, my God, Stanley Parable is one of my favorite games of all time. And so I'm really curious to jump into this version and see everything new they've added and stuff.
How dare you make
Are you
this a
trying
normal
to
podcast
sneak
episode?
normal podcast?
Damn
I was thinking,
it! I just want to do a little
brought
bit.
it up, because once Hanson
Dare you.
started talking about it, I was like, he said he wasn't going to do this.
I know.
And I was waiting for the question to drop, and he never did. It never did.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Disgusting.
Not a normal podcast. I can't do it.
Ben is falling apart at the seams. Like, this is all, like, we cracked the code. This is all it took.
No, let's get back to being loose. Let's just hang out. Like, Leo, did you hear that the Nintendo Switch Sports is coming out on Friday, man?
Make up a name of someone in the community.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Dave McDaverson writes in
Yeah,
and
he
says,
says
I loved Wii Sports.
$59.99, they say. It's coming in at like 7s on IGN, so
Ken Banson writes in.
just think about that. Hey,
All I know is
everybody.
if we didn't talk about it, I would cease to live on the spot.
All right, everybody, here we
Weird
go.
curse that was put on him.
If you enjoy this show and shows like it, and generally MinnMax's content, even recently if you've enjoyed our content, we would appreciate the support. If you like the show, you can support the show directly by going to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, everybody. We'd appreciate your support. Thank you to some of our biggest supporters. Oh, there's Azul Queen's Garden, which is a new tabletop game. It's not an expansion, Jeffem. This is a whole sequel to Azul, and it's called Azul Queen's Garden. Have you seen this, Jeffem? Have you heard of this?
I have.
It's, I assume you like Azul, one of the greatest of all time, yes?
I do. Yeah, I've got one of the other sequels on my pile of shame that I want to play. Each one seems to kind of change some of the things that I actually don't like too much about the original Azul. It seems like each subsequent one has gotten a little more lenient in like, you won't get screwed by that final dump of tiles in the original game.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, so Azul Queen's Garden, it ups the complexity in a big way. It has hexes instead of squares, all that fun stuff. And they say Queen's Garden is the largest Azul title in the family of games and offers more strategy and puzzle-like depth than other Azul products. We just gave away 5 copies of this on MinnMax's Twitter. So thanks to the folks behind Azul Queen's Garden for hooking that up. Thanks everybody for following us on Twitter, because we're going to be doing tabletop giveaways every single month. So stay tuned for that. Also, thank you to our dear friends at I Am 8-Bit. They want everybody to know about Eastward, the limited edition tabletop game. My God, we're all in on these tabletop experiences. This is the 2 to 4 player co-op game. You can get it separately on I Am 8-Bit's online store. You can also get it with the vinyl soundtrack to Eastward, which also is its own tabletop game within the vinyl. It's a complicated thing, but you can check out I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store to check out this cool tabletop adventure in the Eastward universe. And for everything else in I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store, you can use the promo code National Soft Pretzel Month. National Soft Pretzel Month for 10% off everything under $100 in I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store. So follow the link below and check them out, because they're very, very generous for us, because they gave Leo 1 pin at GDC and he refuses to take it off. Hell yeah. But they are very generous, because each and every week they give away a prize to the MinnMax community, and this week they're giving away, just shipping them, a copy of Untitled Goose Game on the Nintendo Switch, just out of the kindness of their hearts. So if you support us at any tier on Patreon, you can submit a question for us to read on the show, and then you could potentially win a great prize each and every week, thanks to I'm8bit. Hey, you guys finally ready to get to some community questions?
Let's do it.
Okay, great.
Sure.
Mars Barrow writes in and says, hey, Minimal Maximus, that's us. They say, love the show, like always. Then they say, great content, keep it up. Look at that.
Yeah, I can answer that question.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
All right. And then they say, hey, my question is this. If you could be born at the beginning of any decade, the 50s, 70s, 80s, 60s, presumably, with an instant $2 million in your pocket, which decade would you choose and why? Obviously.
Are we taking racism out of the equation?
That's a great question.
And sexism?
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good details.
I'll
to
just
know.
I'll take the 90s because it's less those things.
Yeah, that's what
But
I was
early
gonna
enough
say.
that the 2 mil goes further.
That's a fair pick. Yeah, because they say, obviously, you'd have opportunities the further back in time you went, but maybe less entertaining opportunities at the same time. That is true. So $2 million, which decade are you going to the start of? I'd probably go...
Gotta have air conditioning. That's like crucial.
Right. Let's see. So Janet's main concern is racism, and yours is air conditioning.
And sexism.
And
Yes,
sexism.
equally
I honestly
important
feel
thing.
like here's the thing, like that is us speaking our truths, and like that's where it lands. Like, you know,
Yeah.
is it fair? That's a different podcast,
Right,
right?
right.
I'm going 90s because I want to be, and also I can enjoy then the modern era. Like I like the era that I live in.
Right.
I don't really have like, again, even putting aside the horrible sociological elements, like I don't have like a lot of nostalgia for like, man, I really wanted to be at Woodstock. Like I'm not at Coachella now. It's fine. I don't care
Yeah.
about that. So
Everything's better now.
90s gives me the modern era basically, because I was born in the 90s already. So yeah, I'll start off and I have the 2 mil and things are a little bit nicer. I have an actual office. Like my bed isn't in this office. It'll be good.
I mean, you could also make money doing the old swindle of, betting on games and stuff like that if I knew the outcome of any sports game. So is that a factor here? How you can
Can you
con?
just invest in Amazon?
Of course
or
it-
Right.
something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot we could do.
Yeah.
You may
Hold
as
on,
well
are you
have
a time
I
traveler?
bought
Are
Elon
you
Musk.
Oh yeah,
a
are we
time
traveling?
traveler? Or are you just, are you just
Oh, hang on.
born
Yeah, you're right.
with
There's
money?
no
think you're just
time
bored.
travel
I
here.
think you're just
We need to
bored,
listen
yeah.
to what Mr. and Mrs. Barrow are saying. Yeah, if you were born at the beginning of any decade. I think...
Without the knowledge of the current, without my current knowledge.
In the 90s. So boom.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think...
It's gonna be $2 million.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Just you're kind of yourself now, Janet, but you have $2 million. Yeah.
Great.
I'm just old
Yeah.
enough that people will stop asking, were you old enough to play Mario 64? Was that before your era? Yes. Yes,
Ever
I
heard of
was.
the Game Boy camera? You call yourself a gamer?
The worst.
Yeah, I guess I'd go 80s still. I don't know if I'm not too
I'd
eager
want
to
to
jump
avoid
into
the
the past.
serial killer. I'd go with the 90s too.
Right. Remember when we had that great purge and we exterminated every serial killer on planet
Well,
Earth
yeah,
in the late
there's not
80s?
as many serial killers as there were because lead.
Science is caught up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lead got him. Matt Lynch writes in, with all the Twitter news this week, I saw, thank you for writing in, Mars, we appreciate it. With all the Twitter news this week, I saw a lot of people reminiscing about old forums. Did you all post on any internet forums back in the day?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Talked about it on the Pendragon Deepest Dive, the recording Jacob Geller and I just did on the podcast feed. I was on the Pendragon Adventure forums. I posted fanfics there. I made lifelong friends that I haven't spoken to since.
That's amazing.
I was also on the forums for a podcast I listened to called The Best Damn Podcast Ever.
really
Active on there.
pretty early. That's interesting. Did you see, I forwarded that message to you, right? That somebody who's like the biggest Bobby Pendragon fan in the world supported us on Patreon and left a very thoughtful long message, like analyzing what you guys were talking about.
Yeah, that was cool.
So sweet. Also, Jacob Schumacher wrote in, said, I wanted to give a special shout out thanks to Leo and Jacob Geller for recording that Patreon exclusive podcast about the Pendragon book series. It was a series I always loved reading in middle school and high school, and I think back on it sometimes. So it was really fun to hear a long-form discussion on it. So that was our surprise recording that we teased at the end of last week's podcast. So that's a Patreon exclusive if you want to jump in and unlock that for all the Pendragon heads out there.
You're not going to find it anywhere else.
That's right. Yeah, anybody else big on those forums? Not the Pendragon ones per se, but...
I
Went
was
up
really
a little
active.
bit.
Yep, same here, Kyle. I don't know if I posted, but yeah, I was definitely a lurker for the one-up forums back in the day.
I was active on the Neopets forums. Very active on those Neopets forums.
What type of thing what would get the community buzzing? Like, what were you talking about?
Different like categories for forums. Like some were just about the Neopets, the site. Some were about like questions. So just like asking questions. The one that I was really active on was the role-playing forum.
Really?
Yep. Where like someone would give a prompt at the beginning of their forum, and then everyone would kind of write in who their character was and like give all the details. And then you would try to like weave a story together, writing in a forum, but it was really hard because like while you were writing, someone else has probably posted. So it was really kind of like and everyone was just kind of writing in their own corners, kind of when you look at it like that.
Yeah.
But that's where I got a lot of my like writing from, was just being very active on the role-playing Neopets forum.
I love it.
In the Pendragon forums, every now and then a thread would pop up that was called like the bar or whatever.
Yeah.
Come on up and order a drink, and then everybody goes asterisk, orders beer. What's up, everybody? That kind of role playing.
That's the kind of role playing I think I could handle. Were you pardon my ignorance, were you like a pet when you're role playing in the forums?
No, I mean like they would like be like, okay guys, the scene is like Disney was really big. They're like, the scene is like Harry Potter, High School Musical, like we're a school of mages where like we're all in high school together. We're all a school of mages. It would just be various scenarios.
Oh, so it had nothing to do with Neopets.
It had nothing to do with Neopets at all. It was like specifically just like a bunch of kids. Now kids get to just do it live in Roblox, right? Like Roblox is a really big role-playing setting where they put you in a setting and you can chat. But back in my day, we had to do it post by post.
All up here.
Forum by forum.
Jeff, were there any forums you were into back in the day? Other than the Roman forums?
What makes it look like we're high-fiving?
Yes, you got it. You got it.
Okay.
He's crying for people that aren't watching.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't remember posting in many forums back then. There was a website called Nintendorks.
Ooh.
That I actually did a couple like freelance reviews for back in the day.
Wait, can we find these?
Because it was just like, I mean, they weren't paying anyone. It was just all fans. You could, write like a GoldenEye review probably back
In there.
back in the day. But I can't remember if they had forums or not.
Okay, I went to Nintendorks. It seems like it's still alive. They want you to join their Discord, so you could jump in there and see if anybody could unearth your old
really?
reviews. Yeah.
I don't think I ever officially resigned or anything when I stopped writing there. So I probably technically own like majority stock in Nintendorks.
It's a big investment back in the day.
401k is doing well.
Tom Blackburn writes in and says, "Hey everybody, my sister-in-law asked me what kind of active games, but not necessarily exercise games, she should look into getting her 5-year-old for the Switch. I'm at a loss. Does DDR still exist? Are those Ubisoft dance games appropriate or good? Could a 5-year-old play through Skyward Sword?" I think
100% Just Dance.
Yeah.
They have a
Just
kids
Dance
mode
has
too.
Yeah,
Dance is
kids
good.
dances.
Oh, also,
I mean, that's like when my daughter, she doesn't currently, but when she would go to daycare, they played Mario Kart and Just Dance. And Just Dance was like the one that they encouraged more because it was all the kids could get up and dance and stuff. Yeah.
Hey, Kyle, I was really doing some research on Dance Central recently because I was thinking about getting a Kinect for my nephews and stuff.
Love Dance Central.
Do you remember, is it only Dance Central 3 that allows you to like free dance? Do they have like, if I just want to jump in and have the most
You can also
fun,
just do that
Excuse me?
without a connect or anything.
But
They have free dance
Yeah.
in real life.
is that what that is? It's just technically free dance. I would feel more comfortable if I had a Kinect looking at me and nodding its approval as I was really...
Dance like the Kinect is watching.
That's really good.
But do you remember? Yeah.
I don't know. I ended up kind of skipping 2 because 2 came out right when my daughter was born. But 1, Ashley and I, my wife, played a ton. And then I actually reviewed 3 for Game Informer.
Right.
And 3 definitely has the sort of improvisational dance stuff where you can,
Right.
Are you scored at all? What is that?
in Dance Central?
in
Free
3.
Dance and Dance Central.
Oh, it's basically like it's kind of like. Now I guess Guitar Hero didn't really have it, but basically like you would activate like if you get your multipliers high enough, you could activate this mode, and then you just kind of can move around as much as you want. And I think maybe you get more points for moving more. So like your best bet is to actually not really worry about the rhythm and just kind of go like this to get
This
your
is what
high
happens
scores.
when machines try to judge art. It's like Pokemon Snap again all over again.
Yes,
This picture
exactly.
sucks. You don't know what you're talking about. You have no eye for design.
Like rock band drum solos, sounds like.
Yeah, would
Yeah.
you just kind of wail on the drums like crazy? Is that how that works?
Yeah, or you do a really
Start
good,
flailing your arms.
awesome drum solo.
I saw somebody on Twitter the other day post like, "Hey, parenting pro tip: if you ever need to tire out a toddler, just look up on YouTube. They have like these run videos."
I
where-
saw that.
Have you seen it? Where it's like Mario
wanna do
Run,
it.
but not the game. It's just like a first-person perspective, and it's just like somebody running, and then your just stupid kid just runs in place and jumps around and stuff.
They have to like dodge obstacles.
Right,
Like they have to
right.
move to the left, move to the right, crouch
It's
down,
like when you
jump
look up
up.
like videos for cats on YouTube
Right.
and it's like this
Yeah.
bird, or like there's a bunch of fish on the iPad I put in front of my iPad kid cat and just let her tap the screen.
Yeah.
She has a good time. It's really just but I think the movement thing, like the running thing would be interesting for like the movement. And like what's nice about Just Dance is like, especially depending on your age, you don't necessarily even care about like, you do need the Joy-Con or the phone, but like a lot of kids don't care about that. They'll just
No.
do the movements. And like even my students who are like old enough to know that you need the controller, they're like, oh, we only have so many players we can do. It's fine. I'll just do it on the side. Like they're just there to have fun. Like it's fine.
Totally. By the way,
Also, I mean, it's tough to find, but with the Kinect game, the Double Fine,
yeah.
it's like perfect for that. But I don't know. You'd have to find a Kinect and download that game, which would probably.
And also-
Jump Rope Challenge is free on Switch still. And they were going to pull it, but I
excellent.
think they still have it. And it's genuinely to kid or not all ages. Like that's a good jump rope game. Like, and it's cute too. It has some of the sort of like the brain ageification of like the workout. So they get a little stamp, like I love getting those little stamps. It was like the only thing that was like Wordle back in the day, like that feeling of the stamp. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the Wordle streak. So it has that. And it has, again, super small, but like I think it's cute stuff they added to like jump rope challenge. But you have like little cosmetics too for your character. You can change the background. You can dress them up like Mario. You can dress them up like Samus. Like it's it's fun. It's fun. It's good. It works.
Is that like I'm
Jump rope
imagining,
challenge.
where your two Joy-Cons are the handles of the jump
That's
rope?
right.
And you,
That's
Yep.
right.
that sounds awesome.
It's great. It's free. Like it's simple. Like
That's
honestly,
it.
everyone should have that on their Switch. It's like a great little exercise.
That is the
Was it-
perfect
it was
answer.
like a COVID game, right? Wasn't it kind of
Yeah,
like
like
Nintendo
the-
was like, hey, we're all locked down. We made this free
Some of the
thing, and
developers were
yeah.
like, we wanted to make this. Like, it was like a nice little like passion project, pandemic story. And then they're like, we just want to put this out there for people. And then they did say they were going to pull it, but then they decided we're not pulling it. They Wolf of Wall Streeted that. So I believe it's still in the store.
Also, Tom Blackburn, this Friday, Nintendo Switch Sports is releasing for the Nintendo Switch. It's coming at retail for $59.99. That might be what you're looking for.
No, he's doing it again.
Hey, they
Get
wrote
outta
in.
here.
They wrote in. Adam Wagner wrote in. Oh boy.
Boy Who Cried Switch Sports.
I just hope everyone is informed about games. But Adam writes in, hey, what do y'all ears look like? Don't show us. Just describe what your ears look like.
How are we? What?
Attached lobe, I believe. I have
don't-
plugs. I have 0 gauge plugs that I've had for like my whole life that are often obscured by my hair.
Really?
What does the attached
Yeah.
lobe thing look like? I
know
don't
that.
think I've ever
Your parents
understood
put
that.
him in when you were born?
That's right.
Before he was born.
No, I think I got him in like middle of high school. I think is when I started expanding those circles.
I remember seeing like an attached lobe thing in like those genetic charts. Remember learning about those in school? About like you had to do the math to figure out like which genes would carry on or whatever. And that was very fun if you were into
yeah.
Metal Gear Solid, because like, oh, I know about flawed recessive genes thanks to Liquid Snake. But the attached lobe thing, I never understood. Sarah, you'd understand genes if you really got Metal Gear. Actually, it's good. But I'm still confused with this attached lobe. I'm looking at comparison photos.
What are you confused about? If you have an
Yeah, what's-
attached lobe, or you have one that's like more circular.
Well, I guess first question is, what is
it looks
a
like
lobe?
it hangs more.
Oh,
Janet,
so-
are you checking?
Yeah, I don't think I
I'm also
have
checking.
I think I have an attached one. Is it supposed to be? Is that normal?
No, get
Go to
that
the
looked
So I have
at
a light fear that this
immediately.
like, I'm like, is this some
No, it's
person's weird like ear thing they got going on. Like, I don't have sometimes these body questions.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you
Right, good
asking? You know
point.
what I mean?
Well, they
Let me
said
not
they
get
didn't
too
want to see it.
descriptive
They just
here.
wanted a description. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe that's part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
no judges, but I don't want
that's
to
a
be
big red
involved.
flag.
You know what I mean?
Describe in as much detail as you can.
Exactly. What would you say you're wearing right now? I'm like, why are you asking this? Why is this your first time in this chat? Oh no.
And is this did Mark Cerny?
He
write
did,
This in?
he
Is the
did,
name
yeah.
like
That's
a
the other
rearranged
thing I
Mark
thought
Cerny?
of too. Remember, this PlayStation was supposed to scan all of our ears.
Right,
but
right. What are you earring? I don't know. By the way, I'm realizing I was thinking for the lobe thing, I thought that was like some weird internal part of the ear. It turns out it's just the bottom hangy part. It's much easier to understand now. I didn't understand
Which
it
one's the
before.
normal one? Which one's the more common one?
Let's see. I'm Googling which is the normal ear, and it says everybody's body is perfect. Interesting. I don't know. Google just said that.
Oh, that's
cool.
beautiful.
Yeah.
What an era to be in.
Michael Perry writes in and asks, what are some of your favorite lesser known local multiplayer games? I adore Sports Friends, particularly Johann Sebastian Joust. I'd love to see the MinnMax crew play some Sports Friends one day. It would be fun to get a Johann Sebastian Joust stream rolling at some point.
Muddle Dash on the Switch, probably on other platforms too. Great game of trying to get, you have like two or several characters, one side of the level to the other, and you're trying to get the present and bring it to the party, but you can hit each other and like pick up the present. Another
Dash?
weird
What's it
one,
called?
It's called Muddle Dash, as in
Muddle
like
Dash.
muddy, like MUDDLE dash. It's cute, quick, super fun. And then one really weird deep cut, super cheap on Switch all the time. Muddle Dash is also really cheap. This game called Not. It is a game where like you just get these little prompts that are, Isaiah's nodding off to the side, talking about like multiplayer games that are like lesser known.
Nod.
It'll say something like, go to the right. Go not to the right, go
no.
not up or something. And you have to
no.
figure out what direction you go in. Super simple. Anyone can play it. Really fun. And that has competitive as well. Those are the only two off like the quick top of my head for stuff, but I dabble in this all the time. Astro Bears Party, also really good, cheap one on Switch. It's basically the main mechanic in that is you have like a globe of varying sizes, you select it, and you have two bears and you're trying to run around and you want to like not be knocked out first. So like the way you get knocked out is if your lines intersect, like you have a line that you're
cool. It's like
that
Snake
you're
or
dragging
something.
behind you.
Huh.
But yeah, like I know this stuff because I'm constantly Friday night hitting low to high on that eShop. Let's make some mistakes. And
There it
through
is.
that, you honestly do find a lot of really fun games. And like those are games that I like have really enjoyed and I love having them in my collection and they're super cheap. And if they're not already cheap, they go on sale like all the time. So like any of those games I listed, I'd be shocked if any of them were more than maybe like $10, $5, $2. Like they're super, super cheap.
Yeah. I feel like mine are just old, maybe classics or maybe forgotten about. I don't know. Stuff like Battle Block Theater. I feel like it's really fun. There's like that basketball mode in Battle Block Theater that I feel like no one's talked about for years. There's the standards of like Samurai Gun and Towerfall. I haven't played Samurai Gun 2 yet. Did you play it, Leo? I forget.
Yeah,
Did you like it?
I did like it. It's content light right now. Like they've got a new
Okay.
co-op campaign that's fun, but you can blast through in 25 minutes last time I played it.
Gotcha.
But it's fun. Everybody's got abilities now is the big new change.
Right,
There's
right.
stuff like certain people can, get their projectiles back, like their throwing knives that they can collect again.
Huh.
A little tower folly that way.
That's cool. Also, Heave Ho, which came out a couple years ago. That's really fun. Just local absurd chaos where you're trying to string together and you can fart and people go flying off the platforms if you fart too hard, all that good stuff. I think we streamed it at some point here, didn't we? Was that like an Extra Life thing, maybe? I think
At
it might have
least.
been. Yeah, yeah.
Cook Serve Delicious 2 for me. It's only 2-player co-op, but damn, that is a really fun
That
game.
game's so
Really?
good.
I've never played it. I should check it out.
They're amazing. Like the art, like I don't like the art style of that game, but I love the gameplay. The gameplay's fantastic.
Yeah, it's confusing at first. It's like, really? All I'm doing is just pressing buttons for ingredients and just laying things out in order? That seems really simple, but then you get complicated enough dishes with multiple stages and to get them coming in fast enough.
And I know where
that
it's
you're
time
like-
to clean that bathroom. Whew,
Yep.
like honestly,
especially-
some of the most intense gaming I've had in recent years.
Definitely, especially in co-op where you're like dividing up stuff on the fly of like, I'll handle the chores, you get the food out. You see that? We're about to lose that. That kind of stuff. Really fun.
There's rats everywhere, it's great.
Nick Freint writes in, Friendity? Sorry, Nick, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. But what game or games are you all looking forward to the most whenever they release in the next couple of years, and why is it Hollow Knight Silksong? That's a great question.
Silksong I'm excited about, but I'm in full like not excited about it. It's one of those games that like I'll be excited when it's out and I'm playing it. I'm not really sort of dumping my sort of excitement into it because it's like, who knows when it's coming.
Yeah, it's weird how quiet they've been, isn't it? It's got to be an E3 thing. Ryan writes in and says, hello, Benny and the Horts. I have a fitness-oriented Better Quest goal I'd like to share. Hell yeah, Better Quest lives. Starting May 1st through the end of the year, I will complete up to 10,000 push-ups. This evens out to 41 push-ups per day. I'm not too intimidated by the amount of push-ups to be completed, more so performing them on a consistent basis and without losing sight of the goal. If successful, I'm planning to expand my goal to 25,000 to 30,000 push-ups for the year 2023. I will plan to share my results with you near the end of the year, and more than anything, I'm just excited to get started. P.S. On a recent episode, you mentioned how embarrassed you were looking back on the Chrono Trigger wrap-up video produced. Well, I distinctly remember watching and enjoying that video when it was uploaded. Well, thank you very much, Ryan. That's very sweet. Think about that while you're doing your push-ups. I've got something like this going with my friends, yeah, where we're just upping the amount of push-ups that we do every day. So I'm doing like 75 a day, just like sets of 3. It's actually really fun.
When I was in high school, I was kind of that person who, I do so much work to not do work. I took online gym. So I took gym via an online class. So I didn't have to go to gym. I literally just sat at the computer in the library for like 30 minutes a day doing my online gym. And I would just scroll on Tumblr. But you had to like fill out a workout plan. And I was like, you had to like up Leo and we were in the same online gym class actually. But you had to like up the amount of like, and I was like, how many push-ups is like too many push-ups a day? Like, I can only scale this so far until it's like 100 push-ups a day. And I'm like, no, is that even humanly possible? Like, I was Googling like how many push-ups can a human do in a day?
Right.
Because I wasn't actually going to do it.
I had to fill out a full like 3-month journal, like a calendar of all the workouts you did and turn it in at the end. So, of course, I did it all at the end and made a bunch of crap up. Except it was the summer after school, and I was doing it to get, like, my last credit before I actually got my diploma. And so I put on there when I moved out. I was like, oh, this day I moved, carried a bunch of boxes, took, like, 3 hours. And I got dinged a point because they're like, yeah, moving doesn't count. That's, like, stuff you're doing regularly. You can't put that on there. And I was like, joke's on you. That's the only thing I didn't make up on.
Yeah.
It's the only real workout.
Online gym.
They're trying to take away your only real workout. This is so rude.
Not learning a good lesson from that.
Jonathan writes in and says, this one's for Janet. It isn't so much a question as much as me thanking her for being such an inspiration. The pandemic hit me hard, and having already had a tendency for being rather sedentary, I hadn't had the most healthy lifestyle these past 2 years. I tried and failed to get back in shape a couple times, but when I saw Janet posting on Twitter about running her marathon, it inspired me to get out there and start running. With the help of my partner and with a workout plan I'm happy to say that last Sunday I was able to run my first ever 5K run. I'm not done yet, but I feel like this is an important milestone in my journey, and I want to take a moment to thank Janet for inspiring me to take a shot at it. I'll update you in about a month when I have reached a 10K. Way to go, Jonathan.
Yeah, congratulations.
Nice.
It means a lot to think that anything I do has any positive impact on anybody. And obviously I know that is true, but it is still very nice to hear directly. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And, I'm on social media all the time. So like definitely hit me up if you have any questions. Like welcome to the running community. I've been here for many a year. My whole family runs and it's a great sport. And, it's something I'm still learning about even today. So if you have any questions or things you want to share that you've learned or whatever, like I love talking about running. I just don't talk about that much in content because surprise, it has nothing to do with games except for when you pull up that YouTube video of running indefinitely.
That's right.
For your children, and then it comes up. But yeah, always happy to talk about it.
Halia Kasishki writes in and says, greetings from Michigan. Which state would you consider to be Minnesota's closest ally or kindred state? I, for one, have always felt Michigan.
You guys better watch what you say here.
Hey, let's finish this. I, for one, have always felt Michigan and Minnesota have a tight bond. Snow, lakes, hockey, Canada border.
Okay, yeah, we're just going to skip over Wisconsin.
So,
just like pretend it doesn't exist.
Here's the thing, Sarah. We know you were born in Wisconsin. I have my entire life.
I was born in Michigan, first of all.
Wait, really?
Oh.
You grew up in Wisconsin.
I just grew up most of my life in Wisconsin.
Oh, I didn't know that. We're at Michigan.
Detroit.
What?
Yeah.
Have you talked about this before?
No.
When did you move?
But it's like I only lived there for like 6 years, so my elementary school is a dog park now. Like I have nothing. Michigan has nothing for me.
But yeah, I feel like my entire life, everyone is trying to teach us that Wisconsin they're evil over there and all their sports teams suck and all this stuff. But like no offense to Michigan, it seems like, even though we don't want to admit it, Minnesota and Wisconsin are like, they're a pair.
The states are basically hugging each other.
Yeah,
I was
it's
about
exactly
to say the same thing because I like literally pulled the map. I'm like, what shapes we got going on here? Yeah, they're totally in a warm embrace.
Yeah, but again, you can't say that because apparently you're supposed to spit on people that wear Packers clothes or something. I don't really understand why or how, but that's what it is.
Can Wisconsin be our best friend and rival at the same time? Is that kind of
It's like a Pokemon situation
or a Batman and Joker situation? Yeah, something like that.
It's more like
here's complete me.
Yeah, it's more like here's the well-adjusted sibling, and then you have Wisconsin.
Right.
I feel like that's more of the relationship I pick up on.
Yeah, Wisconsin's maybe more fun, but Minnesota feels cooler.
But yeah, here's the successful, well-adjusted, responsible sibling.
Right.
Yeah, I love Wisconsin. Minnesota,
got some energy.
I don't even know what the identifying characteristic is. I saw this question. I was like, what am I even going to base this on? Like, I don't really have anything I associate with this state.
It's just mainly MinnMax. If you ever come to Minnesota here.
Yeah, I mean, like 5 of us who live here.
And yet, y'all never really talk about what's going on there.
I have no associations with Minnesota whatsoever.
Like, what's happening there? There's 2 N's? Like, come on, y'all. Like, that's not enough to carry a whole state. But yeah, I'll be there at some point, and y'all can show me what is the culture.
Don't think we won't. Don't think we won't.
I think we were cool, so I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to shatter whatever positive image.
What was it, Jackbox? When we had like the what cool thing did you do? And then Kelsey astutely pointed out that like the coolest thing we did is anything we did because we don't do anything. Mm-hmm. I felt that was very relatable to anyone in any state here. So
we're gonna have some really cool cultural things for you to do when you eventually come here. We just need to scramble.
We're gonna have a hot dish, tater tot hot dish.
You're gonna love it.
I like tater tots.
You're gonna love it.
I'll rock some tots.
All right, well, get ready for this then. I don't know. The Dakotas are cool. Iowa, I want to like it, but I don't know what's going on there. Leo, what do you
Honestly,
think?
my answer, aside from Wisconsin, was going to be Canada. Like, can we just count that as a state?
Yeah.
That's probably the closest.
Yeah, sorry,
but it feels
Michigan.
Right as an American to just say Canada as a state.
Yeah.
Because it's incorrect, it's rude, it's abrasive. Like, I feel very ingrained in that culture.
That's it, yeah.
Confidently wrong.
Yeah. Ryan McGinnis writes in, it says, howdy, Ben, and the deepest dumpster divers. That's us. They say one person's trash is another person's treasure. Yesterday, I found a perfectly good 19-inch CRT TV in the dumpster at work. I brought it home to use with my N64, and it works great. Last year, I found over $1,000 worth of paintball and airsoft guns in another dumpster. One of the airsoft guns
are you
was
just like walking past the dumpster? This is targeted dumpster searching.
It was at work. They say. One of the airsoft guns at the dumpster factory. One of the airsoft guns was a limited edition Halo gun. P.S. I work construction, so I'm around a lot of different dumpsters. It's filled with empty buckets and lumber. Nothing stinky, Ryan says. Nothing
the best
stinky.
smelling trash.
Oh, lumber trash? That's good trash. My question is, what's the best thing you found in the trash?
My high school friend group, we found chairs from the back of a van, like the seating. So it was more of a couch. And we carried it back home and put it in his basement, and we chilled on it for years.
That's cool. Did you
high school thing to do.
When you were like playing an intense video game, you're like, buckle up, boys, here we go.
Exactly.
Into the trash.
Okay, into the trash.
And also, after that, we found a big box of Nerf guns. Like, it was the moment that some transitional period in someone's life where they got rid of 30 Nerf guns, and we happened to be there at the right time, and it's spent all my luck I'll ever have.
Oh, that's amazing. I remember one time there was like a weird gray mannequin in the trash. I was walking with a girlfriend at the time, and she hated this, but I was like, I need to get that mannequin out of that garbage. And I like went in there and dug it out and grabbed the mannequin, and then like continued walking home. And it was like, a good mile to half mile of me like lugging this mannequin, and she looked like she wanted to die. But then that was the one that was in the Game Informer office that we used for like Extra Life and stuff. So it was a very practical mannequin. We had a good use for that.
You pulled a lot
very
of
Umbrella Academy story you have here, Ben, with this mannequin.
Thank you. Yeah. Wait, what other trash did I bring in that office, Kyle?
A bookshelf. That was a core part of the podcast set for quite some time.
The bookshelf was trash?
Well, you pulled it off the side of the street.
Oh, really? I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
My answer is very relevant because
Yeah.
when I went to pick up that play date from you,
Right.
on the way home, I was driving down Francis Avenue, and there were 4 chairs sitting out there that had a free sign taped to them.
Are you kidding
And I
me?
swung my car around and I loaded those right into my car.
Oh, we need
brought
new
'em home.
chairs too. You could have brought those back to us, Jeff.
Finders keepers, man.
Damn it.
Those are the rules of the
true.
road.
Ooh, also I got my exercise bike I use every morning. That was trash. Trash is great,
Really?
everybody. Yeah.
Mans.
Yeah.
I found a bench.
This feels like a new show plus as well.
Ooh,
We just
Trash
go around and
things?
pick up trash.
let me write this
Dig
down.
through people's trash.
Oh my God.
Digging
love
through
that.
I'm gonna have to go to
trash.
like the affluent neighborhoods of LA, which there are many, but
People do
have
that.
a lot of signs. Yeah, they do. Yeah, people do that where they're like, oh, it's Sunday, like go to like a bougie neighborhood and like get free stuff that still works. They're just getting rid of. But I'm like, that sounds like a lot of work. I'm just gonna take the L and not make more money and have more things.
Yeah, that's smart.
My bench story. It's really good and worth the wait.
Yeah, absolutely. man.
We found a bench that was like a park bench, solid metal, really heavy. We tried to carry it back to my friend's house. We gave up after a couple blocks and we left it on a different boulevard than we found it. And then a few days later, I saw that it's like an irresponsible thing to do, a very high schooler decision of just leaving it there. But then a few days later, that family had moved the bench from that boulevard into their yard and put like plants by it. And then it just became part of that person's yard. It just gave it to them.
Beautiful.
That is beautiful, man. Duty the Brown, come on, Duty, writes in and says, hello, Ben and friends. Age of Empires 2 just announced a new DLC, adding 3 new civilizations, campaigns,
No,
etc.
this is another news story. He's sneaking this in here.
No, Duty the Brown is real. Duty the Brown is real. It
All
is
the
cra-
names to make up.
It's realer than you and me.
It is crazy to think that a game originally released nearly 23 years ago is still receiving updates, balance changes, and funds to hold big tournaments. What do you think the oldest and still updated game is, not including MMOs? Not including MMOs is interesting.
Not including MMOs. Boo.
Because like it is wild to think of like, oh, Guild Wars 2 just had a big expansion, right? Like I looked it up, there's been 28 expansions to EverQuest. It's just bananas. Banana stuff.
Diablo 2. Oh,
Yes.
that's no, okay.
No, Diablo 2 got a patch.
I thought Diablo 2 got a patch a few
It
days
did.
ago, but this is resurrected, is what it got.
No,
which
but
is
they patched the original Diablo 2 within the last year.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was thinking Diablo 2 probably, but I'm not sure.
And that's going to be your final answer, Kyle?
Yeah, that's my final answer.
Okay, great. Jeff, does Doom count for like, Romero making new levels or whatever, or is that just content but not an update?
That I would count that as like modding, really, right?
Yeah. I guess it's kind of a blurry one.
I don't think they updated, any official Doom to add it to the list or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think you just downloaded that off the Steam Games Workshop or whatever.
Right. Hey, here's a better question. No offense, Judy the Brown. Sam Holden wrote in and asks, what went inside the first sandwich? It's a great question, Sam.
Wow.
Yeah.
Air.
So do you think they got the bread, they sliced it up, and then is the first idea is they just put 2 pieces of sliced bread together and said, double bread, bro?
That's right. First, let's make sure this works.
And 3 people died. It was a worst time. It's a lot of troubleshooting, but they eventually got it. Yeah, live fish, maybe.
Live?
Well, they didn't know to cook then.
The earliest recognizable form of
I mean,
sandwich
if they
may be
made the
bread.
bread,
Are we on the same site, Kyle? Are you on
Maybe. It's
pbs.org?
just no, this is just the first Google result. It's
Peanut butter sandwich?
a Jewish dish eaten over Passover, but I don't know what was in it. Bitter herbs. So bitter herbs. There we
Yep.
go.
Plants.
Nailed it.
Yeah, what's PBS saying?
The same thing, bitter herbs inside unleavened matzo bread.
Oh, my stomach's rumbling thinking about those bitter herbs.
My
Look,
Jimmy John's go-to.
I hate to circle back around to a joke, but I just want to make sure everybody heard Leo's joke, which Sarah said she was on PBS, and Leo said peanut butter sandwich. I just need to make sure that was cemented in.
For circling
The
back
deep
on that.
cut, yeah.
The deep cut of listening to Leo.
Well, it had layers to it,
30
much like the
seconds.
It did,
sandwiches.
you're right.
Like, see, it just keeps going. Like,
You're
the
right.
more you think about it, the closer we analyze this joke, the funnier it gets.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Somebody
I'm
Like
just
most
hearing
good
that, like,
jokes.
the da, 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 da. You know, that song, the PBS song, or I'm thinking of radio, but it's all getting conflated now. And I'm just like a voice saying, like, welcome to Peanut Butter Sandwich.
this peanut butter
We're
sandwich
supported by
is brought to you by exactly.
That trumpet jingle is
That's
very
NPR.
memorable.
Yeah.
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 Mike Lynch writes in, what's the longest amount you've stayed awake and why? It was probably
Over-
some Extra Life stuff.
Over 24 hours, probably like maybe like 30 hours or something. You know, usually some project. Like, I've had games related projects that I've had to stay up that late for. I've had like what else? Some college stuff, like studying or working on a paper, you know, stuff like that. But usually it still does boil down, unfortunately, to bad time management. And then, you know, I've done some marathon streams, but none of them have been, I think, a full 24 hours yet, really. So, but yeah, just all-nighters. But usually I go to bed, like, I always try to give myself back that next day. So I'll, like, sleep immediately afterwards and take it easy that day. So, yeah.
I can't think of a time longer than when I was in Poland for one of my last Game Informer trips,
Ooh.
January, February of 2020, when I got really sick at an international airport, which I suspect still might have been COVID, but I don't really know.
Interesting.
I, got up at 8 a.m. that day or whatever, and then got really sick and couldn't sleep at all that night. And then the next day was, like a 12, 14-hour flight or something.
Oof.
And then didn't sleep right after I got back home either because I was in like a weird
Yeah.
semi-human
You
state.
feel like you're not yourself anymore. Because I
Yeah.
would do like 16-hour flights to Japan, and then you'd get to Japan, and it would be a 2-hour train ride out of the rice paddies of Narita Airport, and like you're like, am I in a simulation? Like, am I real right now? And it's just exhausting.
You can tell your brain is not making new memories.
Yeah,
It's just coasting.
you're like, this is gonna be a blackout. I don't remember how I got here. I don't remember where I started.
Let's see. Let's listen to me sing. Interada writes in. Thank you. Please, Leo, please. Interada writes in and says, hello, every cohort of MinnMax. Do you all keep up with the bands or artists you listened to in high school? Or do you just listen to their old stuff?
I try to keep up a little, but sometimes you don't want to know what's behind those doors. Where
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. But I mean, I think like, Foo Fighters I've been listening to since like 8th grade. And while probably my favorites are still definitely like the older stuff, like some of the newer stuff I liked. Again, I haven't kept up with every single thing, but like Concrete and Gold, which is probably still pretty old, or like Wasting Light, like that. I was cool with that. I don't know if the last like 2 albums I've really done, but I usually try to swing back because that's my favorite band. So I've stuck around there probably the longest.
That's nice. Yeah, it's nice to be committed that way. Like, yeah, I'm really bad and done with this stuff. Every once in a while, I'll just hear like, oh, okay. I guess the Bouncing Souls just released a new album. Like, I guess I should be aware of like which bands from my youth are still together and which aren't, But I realize that my attitude towards music is very much the attitude of most normal people's attitudes toward video games. Of like, oh, are they still making Assassin's Creed games? I feel like that's the average person's attitude, and I feel like it's something with music. It's like, oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, they're still probably releasing albums. I just barely care. Maybe I'll catch one here and there, whatever. But too passive for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a couple that I'll always like dabble with their new stuff, but yeah, if I'm in the mood to listen to that band, I'm usually listening to their old stuff that made me fall in love with them to begin with.
How often are you listening to old music like that, Kyle?
So because I kind of go back and forth, right? Like I'll be listening to a podcast and I'm more in the mood to listen to music, and I would say it's like 80% like new things that I'm trying to find new stuff, and then 20% like old nostalgic songs that I like.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
What was the last nostalgic blast you gave yourself?
I was listening to Marcy Playground. Remember that band?
Yeah. All too well.
They're from Minnesota, I think, actually.
Oh, really?
Which is funny.
There we go, Janet. There's some
St.
culture.
Joe on the school bus, not their hits, but like the deeper cuts.
Sorry, honestly, I'm still laughing about from like 8 or 12 questions ago when you were like, you're worried about like sexism and racism. Kyle's worried about air conditioning. I'm sorry. Just go on.
Alex Smith writes in, hey, podcast pals, that's us. Have you ever caught yourself talking about video games in public setting and thought, I must sound like a complete psychopath? If so, does any particular instance still haunt you or stand out to you?
I hate when people who don't play video games, significant others, family members, ask me about video games because then I have to talk about it and I know it's not going to be interesting.
Right.
And I feel like I was asked recently what my favorite game was and I talked about Hitman and that was, made me feel like a crazy person going like, what's interesting is like so many games where we're killing people, but Hitman, you're actually killing like way fewer people, but you're thinking about it way more.
Oh, God.
You gotta check it out.
That's true.
Solo writes in, and as a very killer question, what is MP? What does it stand for? Mana or magic? A little both. Where is it stored in the body? Is it existing or a new organ? What uses a small or big amount? Thank you. Goodbye.
You didn't know it's a new organ.
It is a new organ. Yeah, most people know that it's a new organ. There's, without spoiling anything, maybe Kyle, we've been talking about this recently, but like, I consider magic, it's like all in your brain. Either there's any like physical component of magic. I don't think that holds up to scrutiny. So that's why it's confusing. Like in theory, if there's like a body swap, then you wouldn't bring all your magic with you. If I body swapped with somebody, I would think I'd still be able to use the same magic spells because it's all just in the brain, right?
I talked about this series recently for some reason. The Scholomance series. That interpretation of magic is like you build up mana by doing things that are unpleasant, which can be like working out or crocheting if you really hate it. But it's just like the stress that it creates in you. You can charge that into mana, which you can like store in crystals from that point on. And I think that's...
Damn, I must have so much mana then.
You haven't been using crystals though.
Unlimited. Oh no.
But I think there's probably more like that where it's, comes from the body because it makes more sense rather than just Harry Potter. Every time I say a spell, magic comes out and it doesn't come from anything and there's infinite of it,
Right. Some sort of tension. Yeah, I like that idea.
Well, and even in Harry Potter, though, the Muggles can't do magic because, I mean, there has to be some kind of biological component to that, right?
It's in the blood.
Interesting.
One-armed wolf.
They do, yeah, they did. It is a component of the series for sure.
Half-blood. It's right in there. One-armed wolf writes in and says, question for Leo specifically, but anyone that struggles in a similar way is free to chime in. How does his ADHD affect his gaming habits?
Oh. It's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
First thing that comes to mind for this is how much trouble I have finishing games.
Huh.
Like my very, very low completion rate, I think has something to do with it, of thinking I'll get more dopamine out of trying a new game. But also, hyper focusing on one for a long time, like brute forcing a game until I beat it when I really care about it.
That's a component of ADHD?
Yeah.
Hyper focusing?
Yeah.
Huh. So it swings both ways? You can't focus and you can super focus?
Yeah.
I'm very naive with this stuff. I'm sorry. I don't understand.
No, it's definitely wishy-washy. It's like, I don't know. It's part of struggling with believing that I had it is hearing so many different things be explained by it. I think tweets go viral every single day that's like, oh my God. My fellow ADHD heads definitely have all been obsessed with Caesar salad. Am I right?
No, that's so accurate. Because like that's a lot of my TikTok algorithm too, is like people talking about like different elements of like neurodiverseness or like what may or may not, like what experience you may or may not have. But yeah, it's like super wide. Like the experience is like super differing depending on like who you are.
Huh.
Yeah, but best I can sum it up for my experience, not being an expert whatsoever, is like, yeah, it's hyper focusing on things you do care about and inability to focus on things you don't care about. Like cannot make yourself focus on something you're not interested in.
Huh. Jesse Jones writes in, by the way, Janet, do you have a loud jacket? Is that what that is? Would you classify your jacket as loud? Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't some weird...
Whooshy?
It's, yeah,
right?
it's
Can
sushi.
you hear that?
We can, yeah.
I feel like NVIDIA should be picking that up. So like,
hey, you're
come
good.
on, NVIDIA.
You're good. Jesse Jones says, hey, I have a gaming sin if you'll judge me. We will judge you. When I was a kid, my mom would play Mario Party with me on the GameCube. In one particularly close game, my mom had rolled enough to get to the star and take the lead on one of the final turns. On the way to the star, she came to a crossroads where she had to choose the direction. She asked me which way to go, and I lied to her. She went the wrong way, and on my turn, I collected the star and won the game. To this day, I still feel bad about it, although I'm sure my mom forgot about it within 20 minutes, and I can't play around a Mario Party without thinking about my dishonest ways. This has haunted me for the last 15 to 20 years.
I would have a different answer for this if it wasn't Mario Party. I feel like Mario Party is a no man's land.
That's interesting.
You can kill each other and it's allowed.
Because you can say, yeah, go ahead and get that star, because you never know. Yeah. Like, you know, it's the next step that she takes. A piranha plant could rise up out of the floor and transfer to the other side of the map. So it's
Or she
game
could
on.
go the opposite direction and land on a spot where it's a hidden block and she gets a star anyway, randomly.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
but they still knew what they were doing because they wouldn't carry it around for 20 years if they didn't know. Like if they thought randomness was gonna, I think he's done a terrible thing to his mom. And he needs to apologize.
Wow. Yeah, in the least case, you should call your mother up and tell her this story. And if you cried a little bit, it would help as you just beg for forgiveness for your loving mother.
He will laugh about not remembering it at all, and you will feel better.
That's it. That's it. That's it. True. That's the secret. Okay. Not too many to go from. What do y'all like for question of the week?
Imagine us still not remembering a single one.
I like the Miyamoto retirement one.
I do. I like that one, even though I don't like thinking about it.
Right.
That was a good talker.
Yeah, I like the one asking about the new Disney game that was announced this week.
The plant.
That was not
One that
real,
you
right?
planted in there.
Yeah, this is like when your parents like signed by Santa. Sorry if anyone's listening. Just kidding. That's totally
Spoiler
real,
warning.
unlike Ben.
That's right. Listen to multiplayer games. Sarah, does anything pop
like-
out for you?
I don't remember any of them.
Love it.
It's
The
all
garbage
Miyamoto.
one. Finding the garbage.
Oh, the garbage one's
Garbage.
good
The
too.
garbage was fun.
Garbage is fun. Garbage is fun.
The I also like the game you feel guilty about like not finishing. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was some
Kind of
cool
our
stuff
gaming
there.
stance. Convincing.
I feel like the Miyamoto one was the most unique.
I like
got
that
us
one.
talking.
That's my vote.
Look, is there a light nod from anybody? Janet, Sarah, Leo, you seem lightly disgusted.
There were some high emotions about it.
Okay, some me
Pep
emotions.
seems interested.
There we
And
go.
we came up with the solution, which was cast a spell that turns him into a puppet.
That's
It was
right.
helpful for an entire
That's true.
So congratulations, Luca Alberti. I Am 8-Bit will ship you out Untitled Goose Game with a Nintendo Switch. Now, believe it or not, it's time for something that we like to call Get a Load of This. There it is, everybody. You got it. Hey, everybody. Get a load of this. Hey, Leo. There's a whole YouTube channel devoted to dinosaurs, the old TV show from 1991. If you're only 90s kids, remember dinosaurs. Janet, Leo,
Only
Sarah.
90 children?
That's
will
right.
Remember? Is that-
Have you ever seen Dinosaurs? Are you familiar with the old show Dinosaurs?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'd have to look it up.
You should look up
Not the mama?
Dinosaurs sitcom, not the mama. But there's this YouTube channel where they were trying to build up a whole behind the scenes archive, and there's a making of.
Yeah. This art. Yep. I know this baby.
I was terrified of it as a kid.
It's kind of scary, right?
It's really
Like,
scary.
Yeah,
No.
but then you go back and watch, and it's like,
Cursed.
oh, it's just they're just trying to do it's kind of King of the Hill. Like, let's just go whatever way with the production values in a different way, but then just tell really kind of banal stories. Anyways, there's a making of for the Dinosaurs TV series that's interesting on that channel that you can check out if you want to think long and hard about like what a weird thing that they started. Why did they do this? Why did Jim Henson want to take dinosaur gigantic puppets and then tell boring stories around a kitchen? But hey, I'm glad it exists. It's a big part of my childhood. Kyle,
That explains a lot, actually.
just that I liked dinosaurs and I was 4 years old in 1991.
Yeah, and when you watch this like cursed TV show about dinosaurs being humans, like it's like all coming together now. I can see it.
That's it. That's all I got. Kyle, you got one of these things?
Yeah. Hey, get a load of this. This is, I don't know, this is just something that was a weird, maybe get a load of this, but they released a photo of Margot Robbie yesterday.
Yes.
And she's starring in the Barbie movie.
Hell yes.
understandably, everyone is very dismissive of this film, honestly. It's like a license thing. It's like a movie about Barbie. What is this? But like, I am really excited about this movie for like a number of reasons. First of all, Margot Robbie's great. Ryan Gosling is playing Ken, which is awesome. I like Gosling a lot. And Will Ferrell's going to be in the movie. Some of the other cast members, Shimu Liu, America Ferrera, Kate McKinnon, Michael Cera, Issa Rae, and then Emerald Fennell, who directed, she's an actress and a director. She directed Promising Young Woman, which is a really fantastic movie that I really liked. But then the big thing is the movie is being directed by Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
Who directed Little Women and Lady Bird. And that's like, I am so fascinated by what this movie is going to be, what it's going to look like, what it's about.
Yeah.
It's like weirdly one of my most anticipated movies.
Kyle,
right now.
I was thinking about it honestly because that image came out. It is my number one most anticipated movie right now. Like,
Yes.
I'm such a Greta Gerwig fan. I am all in on this Barbie movie. And I think, did Noah Baumbach like co-write it?
He wrote it. Yeah, he co-wrote it.
Okay.
Yeah. Who did
Yeah.
Life Aquatic and stuff like that. I think he wrote that, right? And yeah, and the thing is like I understand that reaction on like Twitter and stuff when that image came out. Everyone was like, Barbie movie, my God, the cinema is over. And I'm like, no, just look into who's making this thing, and like I think it's worth getting excited about. I'm very curious to see what this movie is.
Yeah, I'm all in on that for sure. Janet, you got something?
Yeah, get a load of this. I'm kind of using this as a bit of a PSA just because I found this out a while ago and everyone I tell doesn't know that it exists. That being said, I'm sure all of you will be like, I've known this for 8 years. Mm-hmm. So there you go. But someone out there probably doesn't know. So if you have an iPhone, if you go to settings, phone, and then you scroll down, you can click on silence unknown callers and toggle that on, and you will never get a spam call again because they will automatically be filtered out completely. So you won't have to do the whole like, oh, I'm interrupted by like this thing that's just spam. Because I used to get spam calls all the time, and I still do, but they just all go straight to silence. And I didn't know this for the longest until my boyfriend finally pointed out to me. And then when I told my family, like they didn't know it either, and we've all had iPhones for like years. So yeah. And then side note to that, if you're streaming, like you shouldn't mention, hey, I have a spam call, because then if someone is trying to find out your number and they're trying to call you, you just confirm that it's your number. So just like safety tip for the internet. Don't say that you got calls when you're on the internet.
I never knew that, and I just turned it on just now. Thank you very much.
It's very helpful. Okay, it's very helpful, yeah. Leo, you got
one thing, you got to remember to turn it off, though, like if you're like waiting for a call from a plumber.
Yes, that's exactly it.
That's the key.
They'll always get you. The plumbers. Leo, you got one?
Here's something you can get a load of.
Okay.
It's a Hitman mod called All NPCs Follow Hitman. And this is a 30-second of everybody in the Sapienza map just pouring out of every building and swarming Hitman as soon as he spawns in.
Oh my gosh.
It's very silly, and I have no idea why you would ever want it, but it's a good clip. Looks like World War Z.
I think there's a MinnMax Clips channel in the Discord now, and somebody shared that clip from your stream with Dan Reichert recently, where the challenge was to like stack up as many bodies as possible in that bathroom, and Dan had like 20 bodies or something stacked up in his bathroom in Hitman, and then a guard was coming and he opens the door to look in there, and the whole challenge is going to be busted. Yeah, so he opens the door but then like turned his head away at the same time as he opened the door and did not see any of the bodies, and it's just the most incredible little moment. It's good times.
That's fun.
That's fun. Jeffem, you going?
Yeah, get a load of this. This was a headline from a couple weeks ago that Jack Dorsey's first tweet went up on auction. NFT for the first tweet ever. The person who bought it for $2.9 million when it originally was sold, and he set it up for auction for $48 million. And when the auction ended, the highest bid was at a whopping $277.
Yeah.
And he did not accept it, but he sent out a tweet later saying that even though that the auction's over, if a good price comes in, he might consider selling it.
Oh, he will.
Crying emojis, yes. About 10 crying emojis after that, I think.
Excellent. Sarah?
Get a load of this. There is a newish arcade rhythm game out of Japan called Teitote Connect. And it is you have to play it in an arcade. It is probably one of the most unique rhythm games I've seen after the washing machine one. And if you know what the washing machine one is, it's like it looks like a giant washing machine and you swipe your hands all over it.
Oh.
This one, it came out it was in Japan in 2020. It just came to the US December of 2021, but it's a very large screen that you stand in front of, and in the screen will stand an anime girl, and you adjust her height to your height, and the entire rhythm game is played by tapping and swiping the screen while the anime girl mirrors it. So you're tapping each other's hands.
How cute.
And kind of playing like a really intense game of patty cake is kind of what it looks like. But it's like, it literally looks like you're dancing with this anime girl, or like there's a gorilla, I guess. Like there's the one not anime girl is just like a furry looking gorilla.
Yeah.
But like, it looks like a lot of fun. And I want to dance with an anime girl and tap our hands together.
That does seem fun.
The dream.
I bet you'd really feel alive, for the first time. Jeff, did you pull in from the community?
Yeah, get a load of this. Neil Smith shared this one, and it's a video from Alana Pierce she did on Ramadan. And she asked 4 Muslim designers to come on and talk about, from the video game industry, and talk about what Ramadan is and kind of explain it for people that don't know and what it means to them. And it's about a 50-minute conversation. It was really interesting.
Right on. There's links below for all this stuff. Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening to this episode of the MinnMax Show podcast. Let us know what you thought about just a structureless mess. It felt good. Leo, was it everything you're hoping for?
I loved it.
Oh, good.
I've never been here.
That's very sweet,
Rare.
man. Yeah, it's a real hoot. Yeah, Leo, it's good. Yeah.
Fine.
Also, hey, if you want even more
What a
MinnMax
great ending.
So
This
mean.
is good, I think. I think this was good, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is why I don't go on
Yeah.
voice on Discord. It's just constant.
Weird passage.
Okay, I liked
It's
it.
worse than
right.
that Overwatch match.
My God.
man,
Hey, if you want,
I liked your response, Leo.
Thank you.
If you want more MinnMax content, you can check out Party Chat, which is our Patreon exclusive podcast. You can get it right in your favorite podcast app. You can really more than double the amount of MinnMax podcasts each and every week by supporting us over on Patreon. This week on Party Chat, we had Dan Tack, former Game Informer editor, talking about not only Elden Ring, but also Nicolas Cage. We talk about MUDs and his origins in PC game and all that stuff, what it's like to leave Game Informer after all these years. So if you're interested in that type of conversation, you can unlock it by supporting us over on Patreon. And Sarah, I don't know if you heard this good word, but because so many people have supported us recently on Patreon, we hit our goal of 2,900 supporters, and we will be streaming all of Chibi Robo with Sarah Pazorski and Jeff Cork. So thank you, everybody, for supporting us, jumping in, even at that $2 tier, making that happen. We will create that fun Chibi Robo stream for you. The plan right now is Saturday, May 7th. Saturday, May 7th, starting at 2 p.m. Central. So give us a follow on Twitch, and we're going to have some form of wild marathon for Chibi Robo with Sarah Pazorski and Jeff Cork from the MinnMax Studios. So if you're looking for a nice, cozy GameCube stream, give us a follow on Twitch, and it'll pop up there. Can you promise it'll be cozy, Sarah? That's what people...
I don't know if it's going to be cozy. I kind of think it's going to be bonkers.
Okay.
Is the nicest way I can put it.
Yeah.
Kind of a dark
Antagonistic.
game, right? Near the end. Like,
It's
it gets kind of
not-
dark.
It does. It gets kind of into like a robot's mortality at the end.
Okay. All right. That seems cozy.
To like avoid spoilers, I guess. But it's mostly just a very colorful cast of characters
Well, there we go.
along the way to a robot's mortality.
I love it. Give us a follow on Twitch. We'd appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who supports us at the Game Champion tier. I'm talking people like Clemens Zobel, who chose to champion Assassin's Creed. They're officially the best at Assassin's Creed. Let it be known. Clemens Zobel is claiming Illusion of Gaia again, saying, I will be the champion of Illusion of Gaia. Steve B, Jak II. Sorry, Janet. Steve B took Jak II. They're the best of all time.
There you go.
Procyon number 6 has Sly 2 Band of Thieves. Thank you so much for choosing those games to champion. And we have the Big Game Championship happening right now on Twitter, where we have a whole series of polls to determine which is the last one standing. We have a whole bracket system, the last game standing. Whoever championed that game, we will work with that person and create some one-off content for it. So, hey, thanks so much. Anything else anybody wants to say?
God bless us, everyone.
That's right. Thanks so much, everybody. Be good, have fun, let's go.